Chapter 1888. However, Tang Ao didn't know if Tao Master Great Dream would have any other strange tests, so Tang Ao decided to adjust his condition before going up. An hour later, Tang Ao had almost completely recovered the Yuan Qi and soul remembrance he had used in the battle with Solitary Shadow. Taking a deep breath, Tang Ao stepped into the tunnel. The moment Tang Ao stepped into the tunnel, Tang Ao felt a spatial fluctuation. Tang Ao immediately understood that this was a teleportation array. When the surrounding white light disappeared, Tang Ao's feet were steady. Looking up, Tang Ao saw the number 36. Clearly, this was the 36th floor of Great Dream Pagoda. After Tang Ao arrived, he saw a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged on an auspicious cloud throne. This middle-aged man wore a crown and had a long beard. When Tang Ao arrived, this blue-robed middle-aged man opened his eyes. Although this blue-robed middle-aged man looked lifelike, Tang Ao was sure that this was just a soul remembrance. This was a Tao Master expert. It was probably beyond Tang Ao's understanding. Even though Tao Master Great Dream was just a soul remembrance, it was enough to make it hard for Tang Ao to breathe. However, seeing that there was no fear on Tang Ao's face, Emenghan retracted her aura. Immediately, Emenghan said to Tang Ao, "You're late. I've already given the inheritance to someone else." However, Tao Master Great Dream's words stunned Tang Ao. Tang Ao thought of many possibilities. He had to go through many trials to obtain the inheritance of a Tao Master expert. But now, Tang Ao knew that he was thinking too much. Because when he came here, he heard Emenghan's words that made him speechless. Since the inheritance had already been given to someone else, why would he leave this inheritance behind? As if she understood Tang Ao's thoughts, Emenghan chuckled and said, "Little fellow, perhaps you don't know much about Tao Masters. Although the inheritance of a Tao Master was precious, in the path of martial arts, one could only walk his own path if he wanted to reach the top. Even if I give you my inheritance and you follow my path, you can only reach the level of Tao Master in the end." Emenghan paused for a moment, then continued, "You have to know that above Tao Masters, there are still top-notch experts in the Divine King realm. If one didn't become a God King, one would still be an ant. Although you can't obtain my inheritance, you can obtain my wealth." Tang Ao agreed with Great Dream Tao Master's words. On the path of martial arts, if one wanted to ascend to the peak, one had to carve out his own path. Otherwise, even if he obtained the inheritance of a God King, there would come a day when he would reach the shackles. Thus, after hearing that he could obtain Emenghan's wealth, Tang Ao's eyes immediately became fervent. The collection of a Tao Master expert would certainly not disappoint Tang Ao. Moreover, Tang Ao had already obtained a lot of good things from Great Dream Tao Master. None of these things were ordinary. Seeing the joy on Tang Ao's face, Great Dream Tao Master also smiled and said, "Most of the things here are from my collection, but they are all ordinary goods. The real good things are in that room. However, the things in that room belong to a friend of mine. Although he gave them to me, if he sees you holding them, he will definitely not be polite to you." Chapter 1889. Sure enough, after Tang Ao asked the question, Tao Master Great Dream laughed out loud. "Little guy, you know a lot. Although this is about the magnetism, whether you want it or not, the magnetism will definitely find you." Tao Master Great Dream's words shocked Tang Ao. Did Tao Master Great Dream already know about him and the magnetism? However, Tang Ao quickly changed his mind. If Tao Master Great Dream was here, he might be able to see through Tang Ao's 9-Dragon Emperor Jade body. However, Tao Master Great Dream was only left with a remnant soul. Obviously, he didn't have that ability. You don't have to be surprised. The lonely shadow you killed was one of the 5 core disciples of the magnetism. Although I imprisoned Lonely Shadow in the Great Dream Buddha Pagoda, the person who killed him was you, right? Tao Master Great Dream looked at Tang Ao as if he was certain that he could kill Tang Ao. Tang Ao was very surprised that Lonely Shadow was a disciple of the magnetism. However, in that situation, if he didn't kill Lonely Shadow would definitely kill him. Tang Ao had no choice. Moreover, with Tang Ao's personality, Tang Ao would never let anyone who wanted him dead go. Tang Ao wasn't bloodthirsty, but if someone wanted to kill Tang Ao would definitely kill them first. Moreover, even without Lonely Shadow, Tang Ao had obtained the inheritance of Netherworld Emperor. Tang Ao's feud with the Magnetism Tao Master would be settled. Not only that, Tang Ao's 9-Dragon Emperor Jade Body was also something that the Magnetism Tao Master desperately wanted. Therefore, once the Magnetism Tao Master found Tang Ao, the Magnetism Tao Master would definitely attack Tang Ao. In the Magnetism Tao Palace, tens of thousands of miles away from the Flying Star Continent, the Magnetism Tao Master sat in the main seat. A group of disciples sat below and listened to the Magnetism Tao lecture. Suddenly, a young man with a green face and a single horn walked in from outside the hall. "What's the matter?" Before the young man could speak, the Magnetism Tao Master asked calmly. "Master, Senior Brother Gu Ying's soul tablet has shattered." Even though the single-horned young man was rather courageous, his voice was still trembling when he said this. Primal Magnetic Tao Lord had 5,000 disciples, and among them, there were 5 true disciples. Solitary Shadow was one of them. There were 10 inner sect disciples, and this green-faced, single-horned beast race youth was one of them. The rest were all outer sect disciples. As for the in-name disciples, there were countless of them. However, among the many disciples, only the 5 true disciples were deeply favored by Origin Magnetic Tao Venerate. But now, the soul tablet of one of the 5 true disciples had actually shattered. The shattering of the soul tablet meant complete death. Even the soul would not have the chance to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Otherwise, if an ordinary martial artist had a soul plate after dying, the soul plate would only dim and not completely shatter. After learning of Solitary Shadow's death, Origin Magnet Tao Master's face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Gu Ying's innate secret technique was very special. In the entire true martial realm, there was no one else who possessed such an innate secret technique. Therefore, Solitary Shadow was of great significance to Origin Magnet Tao Master. But now, Solitary Shadow was actually killed. How long has Solitary Shadow been missing? After calming down, Origin Magnet Tao Master asked indifferently. 16,000 years. The green-faced, single-horned beast race youth replied respectfully. Which clan is responsible for finding Solitary Shadow? The Magnetism Realm was one of the 36 martial realms in the true martial realm. There were also countless clans in the Magnetism Realm. In order to find Solitary Shadow, the Magnetism Realm mobilized the power of a clan. Chapter 1890. There is no need for the Nine-Tailed Fox clan to exist anymore. You will handle this matter. After this matter is resolved, you will take over Gu Ying's position and become my 5th true disciple. You may leave. Origin Magnet waved his sleeve. When Qin Jiao heard that as long as he eradicated the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, he would become one of the 5 true disciples, he was both happy and sad. He was happy that after becoming Origin Magnet Tao Master's true disciple, the status of the South Mountain Black Dragon clan would greatly improve in the Origin Magnet realm. Their clan would also be able to develop very quickly. He was sad that his cultivation partner was in the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. If he eradicated the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, he... Disciple thanks Master. Qin Jiao didn't continue thinking about it. After thanking Origin Magnet Tao Master, he hurriedly left the hall. Origin Magnet Tao Master was furious. It was necessary to eradicate the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. This was the fate of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. Even if Qin Jiao didn't accept the order, He believed that there were definitely many people who were willing to do it. Putting everything else aside, the other 9 disciples who were also part of the top 10 inner disciples would definitely be willing to do it. Moreover, if the 9 of them went, the 9-tailed fox clan would definitely be exterminated. If he went, he could leave a trace of the 9-tailed fox clan's bloodline. However, Qin Jiao also knew that even though he had done his best, it was impossible for little Tanuki not to hate him. In the Origin Magnet Dao Palace, a girl to the lower right of Origin Magnet Dao Master said, "Master, do you know who killed junior brother Guing? Hades' remnants. I didn't expect that after so many years, the people of Hades' bloodline are still alive. Now, even Guing died in their hands." Origin Magnet Dao Master pinched his fingers and said indifferently. There was no joy or anger on his face. In the Great Dream Pagoda, Tang Ao was stunned by Great Dream Dao Master's treasures. There were a total of 6 rooms on the 36th floor of the Great Dream Pagoda. At this moment, Tang Ao opened the first room. It was filled with various grades of spirit herbs and spirit materials. In the corner of the room, there was a small mountain of spirit stones. These spirit stones were almost all high-grade and supreme-grade spirit stones. There was not a single mid-grade or low-grade spirit stone. On the other side, Tang Ao also saw the crystals. Compared to spirit stones, the number of origin crystals was a little less, but there were at least 1,000,000 of them. Of course, Tang Ao would not stand on ceremony with these things. How could he bear the hatred of a Dao master without collecting some interest? Tang Ao did not have any other treasures on him, but he did have a top-notch storage magic treasure, the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirror. Tang Ao's soul remembrance moved all these items into the chaotic 6 Light Mirror space. Although Tang Ao would find a way to put away the Great Dream Pagoda later, it was obviously not safe to leave these treasures in the Great Dream Pagoda. Therefore, Tang Ao had to transfer all these things to the chaotic hexagram mirror. At this moment, Great Dream Dao Master's soul had dissipated, so no one knew what Tang Ao had done. Just now, Great Dream Dao Master had said that Tang Ao could take as many things as he could. Since that was the case, why would Tang Ao be polite with Great Dream Dao Master? After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Tang Ao had already emptied the first room. Then, Tang Ao opened the second room. It was different from the first room. Although the second room was also a huge warehouse, the things inside were arranged very neatly. They were all arranged on the shelf. Tang Ao saw that there were elixirs on the shelf. There were all sorts of elixirs. There were talismans, spirit weapons, and all sorts of treasures. However, these treasures were all at the spirit weapon level. Tang Ao did not see a single immortal weapon. It was the same for talismans. Tang Ao did not find any immortal talismans. However, there was space in Tang Ao's chaotic hexagram mirror. Although these things were not top level, Tang Ao did not think too much about it and put them all away. Next, Tang Ao explored the third room. The things in this room made Tang Ao very satisfied. This was because there were many immortal weapons, immortal pills, and immortal talismans. Although the grade was not high, there was a terrifying amount. Tang Ao did not refuse anything. He put everything he saw into the chaotic hexagram mirror's space. Seeing so many treasures, it would be a lie to say that Tang Ao was not excited. However, until now, Tang Ao still did not see any special things. Tang Ao had indeed obtained a considerable number of immortal artifacts here. However, the grades of those immortal artifacts were not high. Even though they were all between grade 1 and grade 3, Tang Ao could not find a single one above grade 3. Chapter 1891. After sweeping through the first 3 rooms, Tang Ao immediately went to the 4th room. Unlike the previous 3 rooms, the 4th room was filled with rows of bookshelves. These bookshelves were neatly arranged with ancient books and jade slip. Tang Ao scanned with his soul remembrance. Whether it was cultivation methods, martial techniques, or other books about cultivation, they were all very complete. Seeing this, Tang Ao somewhat understood what Great Dream Tao Lord had said before. If Great Dream Tao Lord had stolen these treasures from Origin Magnetic Tao Lord's treasury, it would be strange if Origin Magnetic Tao Lord didn't come looking for him after he obtained these things. Although there were many cultivation methods and martial techniques here, Tang Ao clearly didn't have the time to study them all. Therefore, Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to move all these bookshelves into his Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirrors space. Right now, Tang Ao had only refined the first 3 layers of the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirrors restrictions. Tang Ao wasn't very clear about the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirrors use. However, one thing Tang Ao was very clear about was that the space inside the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirror was very large. Putting these things in the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirrors space wouldn't be a problem, even if he put the entire Great Dream Pagoda in the Primal Chaos 6 Light Mirror. Whether it was cultivation method jade slips or martial techniques, Tang Ao didn't lack any of them. Therefore, after putting all the things in this room, Tang Ao went to the 5th room. In the 5th room there were very few things. However, compared to the first 4 rooms, Tang Ao was very interested in the things in the 5th room. However, just as Tang Ao took a step forward, Tang Ao vigilantly stopped. This was because Tang Ao clearly sensed that he had touched an array. Menghan had promised to give all these things to him. If there was an array, Menghan would naturally tell him. In fact, Menghan didn't mention the array in the treasury at all. However, Tang Ao quickly realized that perhaps even Menghan didn't know there was an array in this treasury. This was because Tang Ao could see that this array had not been set up for long. If Tang Ao's judgment was correct, this array had not been set up for more than 300 years. Soon, Tang Ao found that he was too cautious. Because this was a very ordinary array, after Tang Ao took another step forward, a piece of paper suddenly appeared in front of Tang Ao. Young Master Sikong Jio, I have already picked out the things in this place, and they are not bad. Seeing this, Tang Ao almost vomited blood. He had finally found the inheritance of a Tao Master, but Great Dream Tao Master told him that his inheritance had been given to someone else, but he had left some treasures for Tang Ao. Now, when Tang Ao came to the treasury to take the treasures, he encountered such a thing. Tang Ao even suspected that this fellow called Sikong Jio didn't empty out all these things because the space in his storage spirit artifact was limited. This time, Tang Ao had guessed correctly. Other than the last room which had a restriction, Sikong Jio had visited all 5 treasure vaults in the past. It was just that the space in Sikong Jio's storage ring was limited, so Sikong Jio did not empty out the things here. Casually throwing out a fireball, Tang Ao burned Sikong Jio's note into ashes. Then, he looked helplessly at the remaining items on the table. Chapter 1892. This gave Tang Ao the illusion that after activating this bead, a vast ocean would appear. Tang Ao was not a water-attributed martial artist. Therefore, this water spirit bead was not very useful to Tang Ao. After playing with it for a while, Tang Ao put it away. At the same time, Tang Ao was secretly pondering what Sikong Jio had taken from the treasury that caused Sikong Jio to look down on a treasure like the water spirit pearl. Besides this water spirit bead, there were a few other things on the jade table. Tang Ao scanned through and saw a jade strip. After seeing this jade strip, Tang Ao's eyes immediately lit up. It was truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. In his previous life, Tang Ao had been searching for the 2nd volume of the Mysterious Heaven Art. Even after Tang Ao had fallen, he still could not find it. This jade strip recorded the 2nd volume of the Mysterious Heaven Art. Although Tang Ao did not train the Mysterious Heaven Art in this life, Tang Ao had trained the 1st and 2nd volume of the Mysterious Heaven Art in his previous life. Therefore, with just a glance at the beginning, Tang Ao was completely sure that this jade strip in front of him was the second volume of the mysterious heaven art. Tang Ao held up the second volume of the mysterious heaven art and quickly scanned it with his soul remembrance. Then, Tang Ao realized something. The reason why he was unable to reach the peak of astral reaching realm in his previous life was because of two reasons. The first was the restriction of the black-yellow continent, and the second was the incomplete martial art. Although in this life, Tang Ao had changed to train the ancient god moving art, the rank of the mysterious heaven art was originally higher than the ancient god moving art. Most importantly, the mysterious heaven art was very inclusive. Therefore, Tang Ao could train the mysterious heaven art at the same time as he trained the ancient god moving art. Moreover, he would use the mysterious heaven art as the main method and the ancient god moving art as the supplement. After obtaining the second half of the mysterious heaven skill, Tang Ao was in a good mood. Although there were many problems in Great Dream Dao Venerate's Dao Palace, after obtaining the mysterious heaven method, Tang Ao felt that everything was worth it. With Tang Ao's powerful soul remembrance, after just one look, Tang Ao had already memorized the second half of the mysterious heaven technique. After that, Tang Ao put away the original copy of the mysterious heaven skill and continued to look at other things. Soon, Tang Ao discovered something interesting. It was a gauze dress that was as thin as a cicada's wing. At first, Tang Ao didn't know what it was. However, after his soul remembrance permeated it, Tang Ao was pleasantly surprised to find that it was a treasure that could change one's appearance and aura. Although the mask soul weapon that Tang Ao made before could also change one's aura and appearance, compared to the gauze dress in Tang Ao's hand, the mask soul weapon that Tang Ao made before wasn't enough. After happily putting away the gauze dress, Tang Ao saw a tortoise shell. Of course, Tang Ao understood that since this tortoise shell could appear here, it definitely wasn't a normal item. Scanning with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao was instantly overjoyed because this tortoise shell was the command flag to control the Qi Men Dun Jia formation. In other words, with this tortoise shell, Tang Ao could leave this place at any time. Before, Tang Ao was worried that he didn't know how to leave this place. He didn't expect that after coming to Great Dream Dao Venerate's Dao Palace, all his problems would be solved. Chapter 1893. But this didn't affect Tang Ao. He directly swept everything in this treasury clean. Even that jade table, Tang Ao didn't let it go. After putting away everything in the fifth treasury, Tang Ao didn't look forward to the sixth treasury as much. Because long before Tang Ao, there was a fellow called Sikong Jiu who came here. Moreover, Sikong Jiu seemed to have left some leftovers for Tang Ao because his storage ring didn't have enough space. But in Tang Ao's opinion, even if Sikong Jiu's storage ring didn't have enough space, emptying the sixth treasury shouldn't be a problem. But when Tang Ao came before the sixth treasury, Tang Ao immediately didn't think so, because Tang Ao saw that there was a special groove on the door of the sixth treasury. Others might not know what this groove was, but Tang Ao was very clear that this groove was the dark silver puppet in Tang Ao's hand. Therefore, Tang Ao didn't hesitate and directly took out the dark silver puppet. Tang Ao's judgment was completely correct. The dark silver puppet was perfectly embedded in this groove. Then, the door of the sixth treasury slowly opened. Tang Ao saw that there was a barrier blocking the entrance of the sixth treasury. However, Tang Ao did not care about it and stepped into the barrier with a single step. Then, Tang Ao came to a misty space. This time, Tang Ao saw that although the sixth treasury hadn't been looted by Sikong Jiu, there were clearly fewer things in the sixth treasury. With a glance, Tang Ao only saw two treasures floating in front of him. One of them was a clump of earthy yellow air. Seeing this clump of air, Tang Ao was first stunned. Then, Tang Ao was shocked. Tang Ao remembered what it was. This unremarkable clump of earthy yellow air was the innate earth source aura. There were a total of 5 types of Xiantian Qi. Although these 5 elemental chi were not unique, they were extremely rare. This kind of innate origin energy could fuse with a martial artist's body, bringing unimaginable benefits to their cultivation. Furthermore, according to the legends, if one wanted to cultivate to the God King realm, they would need to have 5 balls of origin chi. Although there was only one strand of innate earth source chi in this place, Tang Ao knew that it was already a great fortune for him to be able to obtain it so easily. It was a heaven-defying opportunity. If Tang Ao's possession of the 9-Dragon Emperor Jade caught the attention of Origin Magnet Dao Master, then if the fact that Tang Ao possessed the aura of innate earth origin was leaked, then all the Dao Masters would definitely notice Tang Ao. At this moment, Tang Ao also understood why Dao's sovereign Great Dream had placed a barrier in the 6th treasury. Otherwise, after Dao's sovereign Great Dream's death, those old guys who sensed the innate earth source aura would immediately take it away, not to mention waiting for Tang Ao to come and take it. Tang Ao didn't expect to be able to obtain a clump of innate origin energy so easily. He was really overjoyed. Chapter 1894. However, if Tang Ao were to obtain other natural original chi, or if Tang Ao's cultivation reached the astral reaching realm, then Tang Ao would be able to consider merging with this natural earth original chi. If this time, Tang Ao had obtained the natural fire original chi, then perhaps Tang Ao would have already merged with it. Unfortunately, this time, Tang Ao had obtained the earth original chi. Although Tang Ao did not train fire element martial arts, regardless of alchemy or weapon crafting, fire was extremely important to Tang Ao. Therefore, merging with the fire original chi would be of great help to Tang Ao. After placing a restriction on the earth original chi and storing it in the chaotic 6 light mirror space, Tang Ao's gaze landed on a golden scroll on the other side. This golden scroll was only half the length of a normal scroll. However, since it was placed together with the natural earth original chi, it was easy to tell how precious it was. Tang Ao had only glanced through the contents of the scroll, and Tang Ao was shocked. This scroll was a scroll of a divine ability. Above martial skills were immortal spells, and above immortal spells were divine abilities. This golden scroll contained a type of divine ability. Most importantly, the divine ability recorded in this scroll was not ordinary at all. It was called 1 Chi turning 3 pure ones. 1 Chi turning 3 pure ones was completely a legendary technique. If it were not for the fact that this scroll had clearly appeared in front of Tang Ao would not have believed that there was such a divine ability at all. 1 breath of mixed Yuan Chi, 1 Chi turning 3 pure ones. When Tang Ao scanned the scroll with his soul remembrance, Tang Ao saw this sentence. However, when Tang Ao's soul remembrance continued to scan the scroll, Tang Ao only felt a buzzing sound in his head. Then, Tang Ao puked out a mouthful of blood. So powerful! Tang Ao hadn't even started cultivating it. He just wanted to check out this divine power, but he still suffered a backlash. Moreover, Tang Ao had only looked at a small portion of the content. But even this small portion of content was enough to make Tang Ao's soul see unable to bear it, causing Tang Ao to suffer the backlash. Tang Ao sighed in his heart. He had to find some time to study this jade slip. What Tang Ao had to do now was to put away the big dream pagoda. After Tang Ao walked out of the 6th treasury, Tang Ao shouted towards the void, "Little Sister Meng, are you there?" As soon as Tang Ao finished speaking, Xiaoming appeared in front of Tang Ao with a bulging mouth. "Big brother Tang Ao, are you looking for me?" "Xiaoming, I'm leaving this place. Do you want to go with me?" When he said this, Tang Ao felt like he was coaxing a child again. But other than that, Tang Ao really didn't know what to say. If the Big Dream Pagoda didn't have an artifact spirit like the primordial sacred heaven bow and the Shinong cauldron, Tang Ao could just take it away. However, the Big Dream Pagoda clearly had its own consciousness, so Tang Ao could only communicate with Xiaoming. Xiaoming hesitated for a moment, then looked at Tang Ao with her big watery eyes and asked, "Big brother Tang Ao, will you take me to eat delicious food?" Tang Ao stared blankly for a moment before immediately saying, "No problem. Of course I will." Tang Ao was also somewhat speechless. As a 9th grade immortal artifact spirit, Little Meng was actually a little foodie. However, because Xiaoming was a little foodie, Tang Ao had succeeded so easily. Chapter 1895. Tang Ao didn't have any conditions, but on Xiaoming's side, Tang Ao could feel that Xiaoming's condition was for Tang Ao to take her to eat all kinds of delicious food. This made Tang Ao a bit speechless. Tang Ao naturally agreed to this condition. Although Tang Ao seemed to be coaxing a child, Tang Ao was not at the point of going back on his word. Tang Ao and Xiaoming signed the contract very smoothly. Then, Tang Ao felt that he also had a special feeling about the Big Dream Pagoda. Although Tang Ao hadn't refined a single layer of the Big Dream Pagoda, at this moment, Tang Ao actually had a feeling that he could control the Big Dream Pagoda. Then, a white light flashed on Tang Ao's body, and Tang Ao and Xiaoming arrived at the white jade square from before. Tang Ao saw Xiaoming wave her hand, and the Big Dream Pagoda shook with a loud bang, then turned into a pagoda-shaped imprint, imprinting it between Xiaoming's eyebrows. After Xiaoming put away the Big Dream Pagoda, Tang Ao brought Xiaoming to the ruins of the previous Dao Palace. It had to be said that the tortoise shell that Tang Ao had just obtained was very useful. In this space, all the formations and enchantments could be controlled by that tortoise shell. Moreover, Tang Ao also knew that this Chimenduanjia formation had killing power. According to the information on the tortoise shell, Tang Ao knew that even astral-reaching realm martial artists would find it difficult to withstand the attack of the Chimenduanjia formation. After learning this information, Tang Ao was secretly glad that he had been able to deduce this special area of the Chimenduanjia formation, and by chance, he had even entered the Dao Palace ruins. Otherwise, no matter how powerful Tang Ao was, the current Tang Ao would definitely not be able to break this Chimenduanjia formation and leave this place. When he arrived at the Dao Palace ruins again, Tang Ao did not leave in a hurry. Previously, Tang Ao did not completely sweep through this area. In fact, there were still some good things in this place. Just like the black crow gold that Tang Ao had obtained in the beginning, it was a very good material for refining weapons. While Xiao Meng was playing by herself, Tang Ao began to search the ruins of the palace. Due to the huge storage space of the chaotic 6 light mirror, Tang Ao was not worried that his storage ring would not be able to hold so many things. Thus, no matter what Tang Ao encountered along the way, he would take them all. At that moment, in Tang Ao's primal chaos hexagram mirror, Tang Ao had already created a special space to store items that Tang Ao couldn't use. These things were of little value to Tang Ao, but for other martial artists, it was a completely different matter. It should be known that the things that Tang Ao had placed in here were quite a few high-grade spirit weapons, and even some low-grade immortal weapons. Apart from that, there were also all kinds of low-grade manuals, broken pieces of spirit weapons, and spirit materials, which Tang Ao had randomly piled up in a corner. Half an hour later, Tang Ao had cleared out everything that caught his eye. Although the space of the primal chaos hexagram mirror was huge, Tang Ao was not one to recycle trash. Naturally, he would not take everything. Moreover, Tang Ao now knew that there were other ways to reach the Dao Palace ruins. Chapter 1896. After searching through the ruins of the Dao Palace, Tang Ao brought the water moon stone to the center of the Dao Palace square. Just like the first time, the water moon stone had become a real treasure. Tang Ao did not care much about other things, but for the Kunlun flower, Tang Ao was overjoyed. The reason why Tang Ao's cultivation could not recover was because Tang Ao's soul sea and spiritual sea were shattered. Once Tang Ao's spiritual sea and soul sea were repaired, Tang Ao would be able to recover his life and death realm level 1 cultivation as long as he went to a place with dense spiritual qi. But the damage to the spiritual sea and soul sea was different from other injuries. It was too difficult to recover from such injuries. But now that Tang Ao had the Kunlun flower, Tang Ao was filled with endless expectations for the Kunlun flower. Tang Ao did not leave the place with Xiao Meng immediately. Instead, he found an empty space and sat down. Xiao Meng seemed to know that Tang Ao was recovering, so she did not disturb Tang Ao. She walked around the ruins of the Dao Palace by herself. At this moment, a crystal-clear flower appeared in Tang Ao's hand. This was a very special immortal spirit herb. It was a terrifying immortal grade 8. But what was interesting was that although the Kunlun flower was known as a holy healing item, it could not be refined into elixirs. Or rather, the Kunlun flower itself was already very perfect and did not need other spirit herbs to neutralize its medicinal properties. The use of the Kunlun flower was very simple. One only needed to guide the medicinal properties of the Kunlun flower into one's body. On the empty space, Tang Ao sat down with his eyes closed. In the 100 herb collection, the description of the Kunlun flower was very clear. To put it simply, there was no injury that the Kunlun flower could not heal. But although the use of the Kunlun flower was simple, it was not so easy to fully unleash the medicinal properties of the Kunlun flower. As Tang Ao used his cultivation method, the essence of the Kunlun flower was guided into his body by Tang Ao. Once the essence of the Kunlun flower entered Tang Ao's body, it immediately turned into thousands of thin strands that wandered in Tang Ao's body. Some of the hidden injuries on Tang Ao's body were also gradually healed by the Kunlun flower. Not long after, the medicinal properties of the Kunlun flower reached Tang Ao's spiritual ocean. Then, Tang Ao was surprised to see that Tang Ao's spiritual ocean that he had been helpless with the Kunlun flower recover at a visible speed. Under the Kunlun flower, Tang's spiritual sea, the Kunlun's spiritual sea that was healed. Tang Ao felt waves of aching, itching, pain, and numbness. The potency of the Kunlun flower was far beyond Tang Ao's imagination, and Tang Ao's 9 Dragons Emperor's jade body seemed to be able to stimulate all the potency of the Kunlun flower. Therefore, when the potency of the Kunlun flower was channeled into Tang Ao's body, there was no waste at all. Soon, Tang Ao heard a cracking sound coming from his spiritual sea. Of course, this sound wasn't the sound of his spiritual sea shattering. Instead, the shattered spiritual sea had completely fused together and was restored to its original state. At this moment, there were no words that could express Tang Ao's feelings. In fact, after Tang Ao's spiritual sea recovered, it meant that his cultivation could be restored. As long as he left this place, Tang Ao would soon be able to regain his first level of life and death realm cultivation. Chapter 1897. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao was stunned. If it was any other time, Tang Ao would have been tortured to death by the soul sea, but at this moment, Tang Ao didn't feel anything. Soon, Tang Ao saw that all the melted fragments had fused together. Not long after, a powerful soul sea appeared again. Feeling the soul sea filled with soul remembrance, Tang Ao was ecstatic. At this time, Tang Ao was 90% sure that he could refine the 3-treasure blood lotus pill for blood scar. Tang Ao really didn't expect that the Kunlun flower would be so heaven-defying. If he knew that his injury could be healed with only 1 Kunlun flower, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't have wasted so much time. After repairing the injury in Tang Ao's body, the medicinal essence of the Kunlun flower was completely exhausted and turned into powder in Tang Ao's hand. At this moment, Tang Ao felt relaxed all over. It was as if a person who had been carrying a heavy load suddenly unloaded it and drank a mouthful of ice water. Xiao Meng also felt the change in Tang Ao's body. After seeing Tang Ao get up, Xiao Meng walked over with a black piece of porcelain in her hand. "Sister Xiao Meng, what is this?" Tang Ao really couldn't recognize the piece of porcelain in Xiao Meng's hand. Although Tang Ao could feel a weak spiritual power fluctuation from the porcelain, from this spiritual power fluctuation, it was obviously not a good thing. This is used by the barbarians to record cultivation methods. This piece of porcelain is called Black Emperor porcelain. Generally, only very top cultivation methods and martial skills are qualified to be recorded with Black Emperor porcelain. Xiao Meng had followed Great Dream Dao Master before, so her knowledge was naturally not comparable to that of Tang Ao. Hearing what little Meng said, Tang Ao was slightly surprised, because Tang Ao didn't know about these things at all. Hearing what little Meng said, Tang Ao felt that there might be treasures in this place, but he didn't know enough, so he couldn't recognize them. Taking the Black Emperor porcelain from Xiao Meng's hands, Tang Ao scanned it with his soul remembrance and indeed found that this porcelain was special. This piece of porcelain was sealed with layers of restrictions. A barbarian martial artist would only need to use a drop of blood essence to cut through the layers of restrictions. However, Tang Ao wasn't a barbarian martial artist, so if Tang Ao wanted to see what was hidden in the Black Emperor porcelain, he could only use the most common method of soul remembrance to break through the layers of restrictions. However, after seeing the layers of seals within the Black Emperor porcelain, Tang Ao temporarily gave up on this idea. It was already quite late. There was still a little more than a day before the 9-colored deer auction would begin. Although Tang Ao was extremely fast, Tang Ao still prepared to leave. With the tortoise shell controlling the spatial barrier, Tang Ao easily left the ruins of the Dao Palace. Soon after, Tang Ao brought Xiao Meng to the cottage by the small lake. Lu Yu was slightly surprised to see Tang Ao bring back a 6- or 7-year-old girl. However, Xiao Meng didn't look at Lu Yu. Instead, she looked at the sleeping snow-winged spirit cat. Because she felt Tang Ao's aura from the snow-winged spirit cat, Xiao Meng walked over boldly and rubbed its head. Chapter 1898. Hearing that Lu Yu could recognize the spirit of the fairy weapon, Tang Ao was a little surprised. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ao asked, "Sister Lu Yu, did you also accidentally enter the Flying Star continent from another plane?" In fact, Tang Ao should have known that no matter how talented one was in the Flying Star continent, the development of alchemy was also very slow due to the limitation of the development of martial arts in the Flying Star continent. Therefore, it was impossible for the native alchemists in the Flying Star continent to reach Lu Yu's level in alchemy. When Tang Ao asked Lu Yu this question, Lu Yu naturally knew that Tang Ao was in the same situation as her. Lu Yu also asked, "Which martial arts world are you from?" Lu Yu was a little cautious when asking this question, because some martial artists in the martial arts world were completely hostile to each other. If the martial arts world where Tang Ao was in and the martial arts world where Lu Yu was in were hostile, it would be very troublesome. Moreover, with Tang Ao's alchemy skills, Lu Yu felt that the martial arts world where Tang Ao was in was certainly not an ordinary one. Among the many martial arts worlds, it was common knowledge that the 4 martial arts worlds with many alchemists were all hostile to each other. However, to Lu Yu's surprise, Tang Ao shook his head. "The martial arts world you mentioned should be the plane of the true martial realm, right? I have never been to the high-level plane of the true martial realm. The place where I am in is called the Black-Yellow Continent. It is said that a long time ago, it was also one of the many martial arts worlds of the true martial realm. It was called the Black-Yellow World." After hearing Tang Ao's words, Lu Yu completely believed him. Because Tang Ao really didn't say anything. Many years ago, there was indeed a martial arts world called the Black-Yellow World. There were a total of 36 martial arts worlds in the true martial realm. Each martial artist's realm master was a powerhouse at the Celestial Muddy Realm or even higher. Moreover, as long as a powerhouse at the Celestial Muddy Realm appeared in a plane, it was possible for that plane to become one of the 36 realms of the true martial realm. This was because battles often broke out in the 36 realms of the true martial world. So, it could be said that it was a common thing for the planes to be destroyed. But as time went by, except for a few martial realms with Tao masters, the strength of the other martial realms was not very different. So although there were constant frictions between them, it was rare for a martial realm to be destroyed at every turn. After a short conversation with Lu Yu, Tang Ao had a better understanding of the realm of true force. Then, Tang Ao told Lu Yu about his plan to leave this place. Although Lu Yu was a yin-yang realm expert at his peak, he was just like Shi Yun. In this place, the immortal spiritual energy within Lu Yu's body had completely dissipated. Unlike everyone else, Xue Hen cultivated blood qi. He didn't rely on yuan qi at all. Instead, he relied on spirit qi. As long as there was enough blood qi and he continued to absorb and refine blood qi, Xue Hen would be able to continuously increase his cultivation in this place without any restrictions. Perhaps God King Fallen Star hadn't considered this situation when he had set up the barrier. Of course, not only Xue Hen, but also Xue Vulture. Therefore, if he allowed Xue Vulture's cultivation to recover to a certain extent in advance, they would be in great danger. Of course, if it didn't work, they could still hide here together. They could even lure Xue Vulture here, and use the Chimen Dun Jia formation to kill him. Chapter 1899. If you want to concoct the 3 treasure blood lotus pellet, I can join hands with you. This way, the success rate will increase to at least 99%. Lu Yu's proposal was naturally something that Tang Ao readily agreed to. After all, Tang Ao only had 1 3 treasure blood lotus pellet, which meant that Tang Ao would only have one chance to concoct the pellet. If the pellet concoction this time failed, then Tang Ao would have to think of other ways to leave the Flying Star continent. Up until now, Tang Ao only knew of 2 ways to leave the Flying Star continent. One way was to shatter the void when Blood Scar was at the 9th level of Astral Reaching Realm, and then leave with everyone. The other way was to use the space-cleaving spell that he had obtained from Luo Yunshang. This trip to Tao Lord Great Dream's palace could be said to have satisfied Tang Ao quite a bit. However, there was still a trace of regret, which was that Tang Ao did not find the space-cleaving spell in Tao Lord Great Dream's palace. Tang Ao felt that there should be a space-cleaving spell in Tao Lord Great Dream's 5th treasury. Unfortunately, the 5th treasury had already been looted by Sikong Jiu. I will cultivate here for a while, then set off for Evergreen Market to participate in the 9-color Deer Chamber of Commerce's 100-year celebration. I will leave Blood Scar in your care. This time, Blood Scar's yuan qi had clearly been greatly damaged. Even now, although his life was not in danger, there was no sign of him waking up. After leaving some yuan crystals for Lu Yu, Tang Ao went to the open space outside the thatched hut. Now that Tang Ao's internal injuries had completely recovered, Tang Ao also wanted to try and see how far he could cultivate in this place using yuan crystals. Now that Tang Ao had more than 2 million yuan crystals, Tang Ao could finally cultivate to his heart's content. Pieces of yuan crystals were placed around by Tang Ao. Soon, these yuan crystals piled up like a small mountain around Tang Ao. With so many yuan crystals, Tang Ao stopped what he was doing. After that, Tang Ao revolved his skill and started cultivating. After Tang Ao started cultivating, the yuan qi within the crystals was drawn out by Tang Ao. Then, the yuan qi poured into Tang Ao's body. However, no matter how violent this vital energy was, it was like a drop in the bucket for Tang Ao's enormous spiritual sea. After cultivating with so many multiple energy crystals, the effect was immediate. Tang Ao's cultivation level rose sharply in an instant, and the terror of the 9 Dragons Emperor's jade body was undoubtedly revealed at this moment. 2nd level of the Origin Realm, 3rd level, 5th level, 7th level. Very quickly, Tang Ao's cultivation reached the peak of the 9th level of the origin realm. However, at that instant, Tang Ao still did not feel any bottleneck. So, Tang Ao was also endlessly absorbing the origin energy within the origin crystals. As Tang Ao absorbed and refined it, the essence energy in the essence crystal was rapidly depleted by Tang Ao. Soon, it shattered into dregs. However, Tang Ao did not stop. He continued to charge upwards. This time, Tang Ao was truly delighted in his heart. When the Netherworld Emperor's secret realm ended and Tang Ao was injured by everyone, Tang Ao's cultivation had never been this carefree. Thinking like that, Tang Ao's body trembled. Tang Ao had officially reached the Sea of Souls realm. After Tang Ao reached the Sea of Souls realm, the 100 crystals around Tang Ao were also completely consumed by Tang Ao. Although there were still 1 million crystals in Tang Ao's storage ring, Tang Ao did not continue to use them to cultivate. This was because Tang Ao knew that even if he used up another 1 million crystals, it would not change much. Although the existence of origin crystals allowed the martial artists on the Flying Star continent to cultivate to a higher level, Tang Ao also discovered that origin crystals still had a lot of drawback. The number of origin crystals was limited. Moreover, the essence chi contained within origin crystals could not be completely absorbed by martial artists. Most of it would leak out. Therefore, on the surface, using origin crystals to cultivate didn't seem to have any restrictions. In reality, the number of origin crystals was the biggest restriction. The utilization of origin crystals was also a headache. Feeling the surging essence chi in his body, Tang Ao felt that if he met Xue Vulture again, Tang Ao would be able to kill him. Tang Ao did not believe that Xue Vulture could also reach the Sea of Souls realm in such a short period of time. After the breakthrough, Tang Ao was in a good mood. After informing Lu Yu, Tang Ao, the snow-winged spirit cat, and Xiao Meng went to Evergreen Market. Chapter 1900. Looking at the crowd not far away, Tang Ao had a thought and the dreamy muslin robe on his body changed. Then, Tang Ao turned into a white-faced scholar with a jade crown on his head and a folding fan in his hand. Next to Tang Ao, the snow-winged spirit cat had also turned into a small white tiger with wings, and Xiao Meng was riding on the snow-winged spirit cat. After getting closer, Tang Ao felt a bit strange. Tang Ao saw that this group of people were all very young, and they all had an air of arrogance between their brows. Which force are these warriors from? Tang Ao muttered in his heart. He did not understand. However, Tang Ao had to admit that these young men and women did indeed have the qualifications to be arrogant. Tang Ao saw that the lowest level of cultivation in this group of warriors was at the 3rd level of the origin martial realm. Although there were already a lot of warriors at the 3rd level of the origin martial realm on the Flying Star continent, to be able to reach the 3rd level of the origin martial realm at this age was enough to show that their martial arts talent was extraordinary. Moreover, this person had the lowest level of cultivation. The one with the highest level of cultivation was a one-eyed warrior with a scar on his eye. This person's cultivation had actually reached the 7th level of the origin martial realm. After Xuejiu, he was the warrior with the highest level of cultivation that Tang Ao had seen on the Flying Star continent. Of course, with Tang Ao's current cultivation of the Spirit Sea realm, this one-eyed warrior could not pose any threat to Tang Ao at all. After Tang Ao walked over, this group of people also noticed Tang Ao. However, when they saw that Tang Ao actually dared to move around in this area by himself, they were a bit surprised. One had to know that this was already the depths of the central area of the Blood Wasteland, and it was not far from the deepest part of the Blood Wasteland. From time to time, extremely powerful demonic beasts would appear in this area, but Tang Ao and his beast had been moving around here for an unknown amount of time, and it seemed that nothing had happened. I got lost while training in the Blood Wasteland. May I ask which direction is the Evergreen Market? Tang Ao guessed that the blood scar must have used the blood scar escape this time, because both of their lives were hanging by a thread. As a result, even though Tang Ao had recovered his spirit sea realm cultivation, Tang Ao still did not know the correct direction of the evergreen market. Hearing Tang Ao asking about the evergreen market, a lot of these young men looked at him with disdain. He originally thought that since Tang Ao was able to move around in this area, he must be an expert with extraordinary courage and insight. But now, it seems that Tang Ao was just a silk pants disciple who entered this place by accident. Although Tang Ao had the powerful cultivation of the spirit sea realm, the cultivation Tang Ao displayed was only the first level of the origin martial realm. The first level of the origin martial realm was actually not bad in the current Flying Star continent, but compared to these young men and women who came from who knew where, there was a huge difference. Another point was that the evergreen market was built in the outermost area of the Blood Wasteland. Only those opportunistic chambers of commerce and weak warriors with no ability would stay in the evergreen market. This was the evaluation of these people for the evergreen market. As for Shin Qianshir's claim that the evergreen market was the last barrier of the Flying Star continent warriors in the Blood Wasteland, and that it was the place where all the warriors in the Blood Wasteland rested, these people snorted. Mayan looked at Tang Ao, then pointed in a direction and said, "Go straight in this direction. If you are fast, you can reach the evergreen market in 3 days. If you are unlucky and encounter some powerful demonic beasts, then it will be hard to say." Chapter 1901. After hearing Mayan's words, Tang Ao prepared to thank him and leave. But before Tang Ao left, the third-level Origin Realm martial artist in the group said, "Instructor Mayan, since we're going to leave here in half a day and go to the Evergreen Market Square to participate in the 9-Colored Deer Trading Company's 100-year celebration, why don't we let him go with us? The Flying Spirit boat is spacious anyways. It doesn't matter if one more person sit." Xiao Yun's words made Mayan's face reveal a rare expression of gratification. They came from the Skystar Institution. These young men and women had outstanding martial talent, and normally, they were full of arrogance. This kind of attitude was absolutely not what a true martial expert should have. Although Mayan looked fierce on the outside, in reality, he was a rather modest person. He didn't expect his own students to be like him, but Mayan really disliked the arrogant nature of the Skystar Institution's disciples. Mayan felt that Xiao Yun's words were correct, but others didn't think so. Martial artists who could enter the Skystar Institution to study were absolutely monstrous in the entire Flying Star continent. The Skystar Institution was located in the extremely cold eastern region of the Flying Star continent. Even the 8 overlord powers that ruled the Flying Star continent were too far away to manage the Skystar Institution. Also, some people knew that the Skystar Institution's power had already surpassed the 8 overlord powers. It was just that the Skystar Institution stood aloof from worldly affairs and unceasingly sent geniuses to the Flying Star continent, so no one had any thoughts about the Skystar Institution. At that instant, Xiao Yun's words caused many people's dissatisfaction, but they didn't immediately show it. It was because they could tell that instructor Mayan admired Xiao Yun's suggestion. If they refuted it now, they would only be looking for trouble. After all, everyone still had a trial. Since Xiao Yun dared to invite a weak martial artist like Tang Ao, he would suffer in a bit. Originally, Tang Ao wanted to refuse Xiao Yun's invitation, but after seeing the disdainful gazes, Tang Ao immediately agreed. Tang Ao also wanted to see if these guys had the ability to overturn rivers and seas. A mere Origin Realm cultivator dared to be so arrogant? "Thank you, junior brother. I am Tang Tian, how do I address you?" Although Xiao Yun's cultivation was higher than Tang Ao's on the surface, he didn't think much of Tang Ao calling him junior brother. Instead, he smiled indifferently and said rather modestly, "Senior brother Tang Tian, I'm Xiao Yun, a disciple of the Skystar Institution. When Xiao Yun mentioned the Skystar Academy, Xiao Yun didn't think much of it, and Tang Ao was only slightly puzzled. However, the people around them all stood up proudly. Seeing this scene, Tang Ao secretly laughed in his heart. Could it be that this Skystar Academy is a force that's more prominent than the 8 overlord forces of the Flying Star Continent? Otherwise, how could the disciples of the Heavenly Star Academy be so arrogant? Tang Ao noticed that there were a total of 36 disciples of the Heavenly Star Academy in this team. Adding Sima Yen and the black-clothed middle-aged martial artist who didn't like to talk, there were a total of 38 people. Chapter 1902. After Sima finished speaking, he left with Li Jiu, who was at the back of the group. Tang Ao saw that although Li Jiu didn't speak much, and even after Tang Ao arrived at the Skystar Academy's group, Li Jiu didn't say a single word. Li Jiu's cultivation was extremely strong, reaching the peak of the 6th level of the Origin Martial Realm. If Lu Chuanjia hadn't broken through yet, then Li Jiu would have the same cultivation as Lu Chuanjia. Looking at it now, Lu Chuanjia, the strongest person in the Flying Star Continent, might not be the strongest. After Sima and Li Jiu left, the students of the Skystar Academy quickly started forming group. However, because of him, Xiao Yun seemed to have encountered some trouble. Xiao Yun was originally in a group with 4 other people, but now 3 of the other 4 were not willing to bring Tang Ao. Senior Murong, although Tang Tian's cultivation is a bit low, as long as he follows us, there shouldn't be any problems bringing him along, right? The one who spoke was a 17 or 18-year-old girl. Her cultivation was a bit higher than Xiao Yun's, and she was currently at the early stage of the 4th level of the Origin Martial Realm. In the group, only she and Xiao Yun were willing to bring Tang Ao. The other 3 were against it. Murong Zhan glanced at Tang Ao, then said, "Right now, we are training in the 4th area of the Blood Wasteland. It is very dangerous. The more people there are, the more dangerous it is. A 1st level of the Origin Martial Realm in the 2nd and 3rd areas is already difficult, let alone here." Murong Zhan's words were very clear. Tang Ao's cultivation was too low, so he wouldn't bring Tang Ao. There was another male and female in the group. The gazes they used to look at Tang Ao were also filled with disdain. It was as if they were mocking Tang Ao, who was merely at the 1st level of the Origin Martial Realm, for daring to come to the 4th area. In this period of time, the martial artists of the Flying Star Continent had divided the Blood Wasteland according to the degree of danger. The Evergreen Market was located in the 1st area. The 1st area had many strongholds, and it also had the Evergreen Market as a solid barrier. So, at the current stage, the 1st area could be said to be very safe. Going deeper into the Evergreen Market, they came to the 2nd and 3rd areas. The fortress of the Lu family manor was located at the junction of the 2nd and 3rd regions. The region that Tang Ao was currently in was the 4th region of the Scarlet Wasteland. If he continued deeper, he would reach the 5th region of the Scarlet Wasteland. However, the 5th area was still a forbidden area for the martial artists of the Flying Star Continent. Not long ago, an exploration team led by a 6th-level Origin Martial Realm martial artist from the Lu family's manor had disappeared from the 5th area. Junior brother Xiao Yun, since you insist on forming a team with this Tang Tian, why don't you form a team with Tang Tian alone? Half a day later, you can gather at the location designated by teacher Si Mian. This time, it was Ma Qianqian who spoke. She was the other female martial artist in the team apart from Yi Su. Yi Su and Xiao Yun both agreed to Tang Ao joining their group, but Ma Qianqian felt disdain towards Tang Ao's cultivation of the 1st level of the Origin Realm. After Ma Qianqian finished speaking, Murong Zhan did not say anything. Duan Rue, who was at the side, said, "Junior sister Ma is right, but if you want to form a team with this Tang Tian, you can go by yourself. Don't involve junior sister Yi Su. Chapter 1903. Without waiting for Tang Ao to finish, Xiao Yun said without hesitation, "What are you talking about? Since it's like this, I'll team up with you." Although Xiao Yun's cultivation was not high, he kept his words. Since he said he would team up with Tang Ao, he naturally would not go back on his word. However, if it was only him and Yi Su, the fourth region would be very dangerous. Therefore, Xiao Yun did not think of inviting Yi Su. However, even though Xiao Yun did not invite Yi Su came without an invitation. "Since it's like this, the three of us will move together. Let's go." Compared to Xiao Yun, Yi Su was even more decisive. He did not like Morongzhan and the others' arrogant attitude. Yi Su was very disgusted by them. After saying that, Yi Su pulled Xiao Yun and walked in the opposite direction of Morongzhan and the others. Tang Ao secretly felt that it was interesting and quickly followed. At the same time, Tang Ao could see that although Xiao Yun was stupid, he was a good person. He was sincere and enthusiastic. Yi Su clearly liked him. However, perhaps because he was too stupid, Xiao Yun did not seem to know. Compared to Xiao Yun, Yi Su was very smart. After bringing Tang Ao and Xiao Yun and running for a while, Yi Su helplessly smiled and said, "These guys are too arrogant. They feel that they are a cut above others. However, it's quite dangerous for the three of us to move around here, so we have to be careful." After speaking, Yi Su looked at Tang Ao and Xiao Yun with a serious expression. With Yi Su's cultivation of the fourth level of the origin martial realm, even in the entire Feishing continent, he could be ranked among the top experts. In addition, Yi Su was so young, his martial arts talent was very terrifying. "Sister Yi Su, I've implicated you this time." Xiao Yun was a person who would do what he said. Since he said he would bring Tang Ao to the Evergreen Market Square, Xiao Yun naturally would do what he said. However, Xiao Yun also knew that with his cultivation, it was too difficult for him to stay here. Right now, even if Yi Su joined them, the three of them would still be in a very dangerous situation. So, Xiao Yun's heart was full of guilt. As Xiao Yun spoke, Yi Su raised his hand and rapped Xiao Yun on the head. "What are you talking about? We should be careful. If others can train here, why can't we?" In that area, basically all the Origin Realm monstrous beasts were at the 3rd level to the 5th level of the Origin Realm. There were even some monstrous beasts at the 6th level of the Origin Realm. Even if we are together with Morongzhan and the others, if we meet a monstrous beast at the 6th level of the Origin Realm, we will still not be able to defeat it. As long as we don't meet a monster at the 6th level of the Origin Realm, it won't be a problem for us to escape. So, what's the difference between teaming up with Morongzhan and the others? Tang Ao could tell that Yi Su was consoling Xiao Yun. Clearly, Yi Su was worried that Xiao Yun would blame himself too much and affect the later trials. After listening to Yi Su's words, Xiao Yun nodded his head. In any case, he knew that he didn't need to use his brain when he was with Yi Su. As long as he listened to Yi Su, he wouldn't suffer any losses. Looking at this pair of clowns, Tang Ao secretly felt that it was interesting. Chapter 1904. Most importantly, it was at the 6th level of the Origin Martial Realm, but it could only take a beating in front of Xiaomeng. Therefore, it could only carry Xiaomeng. In fact, Xiaomeng's cultivation was even higher than Tang Ao's. Tang Ao was only at the 1st level of the Sea of Souls realm, but Xiaomeng was half a step into the Life and Death realm. Let me introduce you guys. This is my sister, Tang Xiaomeng, and this is my spirit pet, Shuiyu. We ran into some things in the Blood Wasteland, so we came here. Other people were very careful, but Tang Ao was very casual. Just then, Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to observe. There were quite a few beasts at the 3rd level to the 5th level of the Origin Martial Realm. There were even a few at the 6th level of the origin martial realm. There was not a single beast above the 6th level of the origin martial realm. If it were only beasts of this level, there was no need for Tang Ao to do anything. The snow-winged spirit cat alone could take care of them. Even if there were beasts that the snow-winged spirit cat could not beat, there was still Tang Ao and Xiao Meng to take care of them. Such a cute little sister. This sour plum candy is for you. Yi Su looked at the doll-like Xiao Meng and liked her a lot. She took out 2 sour plum candies from her storage ring and gave them to Xiao Meng. Xiao Meng's big eyes froze for a second, then she asked, "Sister, is this candy delicious?" Xiao Meng had been with Yi Menghan before, so she had never seen these things before, let alone eat them. But now, Xiao Meng saw that the sour plum candy was crystal clear and seemed very delicious. Try one and you'll know. Yi Su was also amused by Xiao Meng's cute look. After Xiao Meng ate a sour plum candy, she had a sweet and sour feeling. Immediately, Xiao Meng said happily, "Sister Yi Su, don't worry. My brother Tang Ao is very powerful. With him here, you guys won't be in danger." Tang Ao was a bit speechless. Kids were too easy to deal with. He only gave her 2 sour plum candies and she sold him out. Although Tang Ao was also ready to explain to them that Tang Tian was his alias, before Tang Ao could say it, Little Meng had already said it. Tang Ao? Xiao Yun and Yi Su asked in confusion. Tang Ao smiled awkwardly and said, "Because of some reasons, I temporarily used a fake name, Tang Ao. My real name is Tang Ao and this is my real face." After saying that, Tang Ao's body transformed and he returned to his original appearance. When Yi Su and Xiao Yun saw that, Tang Ao returned to his original appearance. However, because the Skystar Academy was relatively isolated, neither of them had any impression of Tang Ao. They had no idea that Tang Ao, who was praised by the Alchemy Guild as the best alchemist on the Flying Star continent not long ago, was standing right in front of them. Both Yi Su and Yi Xiao did not mind that Tang Ao used an alias. Chapter 1905. Yo, just as the 4 of them were carefully walking through the forest, rustling sounds suddenly rang out. Following the howl of wolves, Tang Ao and the others were surrounded by a pack of wolves. "These are iron bone wolves. Be careful." Although Xiao Yun was a bit dumb normally, when he met danger, he immediately stood out bravely. Seeing Xiao Yun stand out and protect him, Yi Su was clearly a bit happy. Although her cultivation was stronger than Xiao Yun's, which girl didn't want someone to protect them? Although Xiao Yun was a blockhead, on that point, Yi Su felt that Xiao Yun was very responsible. He was very responsible and it was very good. The cultivation of the iron bone wolves were not very high. Basically, they were in the 2nd level of the origin realm or the 3rd level of the origin realm. It was also because their strength was low that the iron bone wolves gathered together to hunt. Although their cultivation was not high, there were a lot of iron bone wolves. There were 13 of them. The iron bone wolves had the nickname of Copperhead and Irontail. At that instant, being surrounded by 13 iron bone wolves, Xiao Yun was a bit nervous. Not only Xiao Yun, although Yi Su had the cultivation of the 4th level of the origin realm, Yi Su was an alchemist and he was not very suited for battle. The reason why Morongzhan and the others dared to mock Xiao Yun and did their best to keep Yi Su was because Yi Su was an alchemist. Especially since half a year ago, Yi Su's alchemy skills broke through to the level of a 9-star alchemist. In the entire Skystar institution, Yi Su had quite a bit of fame. However, what made Yi Su confused was that after breaking through to the level of a 9-star alchemist, Yi Su had a clearer understanding of the Tao of alchemy. However, Yi Su did not know how to continue to raise his alchemy skills. Yi Su was very clear that 9-star alchemist was not the end of alchemy. It could even be said that it was only the beginning of alchemy. However, although there were quite a few alchemists in the Flying Star continent, there were not many peak-level alchemists. A 9-star alchemist and above had never appeared before. So, even if Yi Su wanted to learn higher-level alchemy skills, he had no way. Big brother Tang Ao, junior sister Yi Su, be careful. Xiao Yun's weapon was a long spear. His long spear was a second-grade spiritual weapon. In the Flying Star continent, such a weapon was not bad. However, a mere second-grade spiritual weapon naturally couldn't enter Tang Ao's eyes. Tang Ao felt that he was fated to meet these two people, so Tang Ao's heart was moved. Roar! After a howl, a peak of the third level of the Origin Realm, Iron Bone Wolf, rushed towards Xiao Yun. The spear in Xiao Yun's hand shook, then he stepped forward and the spear in his hand fiercely stabbed towards the Iron Bone Wolf. Although Xiao Yun's body looked light, the attack power of this spear was not weak. Chapter 1906. Bang! The long spear in Xiao Yun's hand collided with the Iron Bone Wolf's iron claws. The Iron Bone Wolf's iron claws were not at a disadvantage against a Grade 2 spirit tool. This time, the Iron Bone Wolf only paused in midair for a moment, but Xiao Yun was pushed back 3 steps. While Xiao Yun was at a disadvantage, the Iron Bone Wolves on the left and right instantly launched their attacks. Fortunately, Yi Su had already noticed the problem, so when the two Iron Bone Wolves attacked from the left and right, Yi Su instantly threw out 2 azure fireballs. Yi Su's 2 fireballs weren't very powerful, but the timing was perfect. Just as the 2 wolves opened their mouths to howl, the 2 fireballs were thrown into the air and exploded, causing the 2 wolves to spit out blood. Although they looked to be in a difficult position, they weren't fatally wounded. Yi Su's fireballs were extremely powerful, but he was able to control his strength. Xiao Yun and Yi Su's resistance also aroused the Iron Bone Wolves' bloodthirsty impulse. The Iron Bone Wolves immediately stopped probing and surrounded them. At this time, Xiao Yun knew that he was going to die here, but he still didn't retreat half a step, still tightly holding the long spear in his hand. In Xiao Yun's mind, as long as he killed one more Iron Bone Wolf, the others would have a higher chance of survival. You blockhead, retreat, I'll hold them off for a while. You quickly send a message to senior brother Murongzhan for help. Although Yi Su was smart, at this time, Yi Su also felt some despair. When he left the team, Yi Su was very calm because he couldn't stand Murongzhan's face, but Yi Su didn't expect that they would encounter trouble so quickly. Although looking for Murongzhan at this time was very shameful, if he died here today, then everything would be gone. Now that they haven't been separated for a long time, Yi Su felt that Murongzhan and the others must still be nearby. Hearing Yi Su's words, Xiao Yun didn't move. Xiao Yun was a very principled person. At this moment, he would rather die than send a message to Murongzhan for help. However, Xiao Yun looked back at Tang Ao, Xiao Meng and Yi Su. Xiao Yun wavered. He would die because he didn't have the ability, but he couldn't drag Tang Ao and the others down. With this thought in mind, Xiao Yun also took out his communication bead. However, before Xiao Yun could send a distress signal to Murongzhan, Xiao Yun saw an Iron Bone Wolf with a circle of golden fur around its neck approaching from afar. Xiao Yun and Yi Su fell into despair when they saw the Iron Bone Wolf King. At that instant, the one that walked over was an Iron Wolf King. That Iron Wolf King's cultivation, impressively, reached the peak of the 6th level of the Origin Realm. None of these students could deal with such an existence. The monstrous beasts of the 6th level of the Origin Realm were dealt with by Samayan or Li Jiu. Even Hua Qingfeng, who was the strongest within the group of students, only had the cultivation of the early stages of the 6th level of the Origin Realm. If he met the Iron Bone Wolf King, he could only escape for his life. Whether or not he could escape was another question. Chapter 1907. You two back off. Let me do it. While Xiao Yun and Yi Su didn't know what to do, Tang Ao's voice indifferently rang out. At that moment, the Wolf King was approaching Xiao Yun and the others with heavy steps. In the tense atmosphere, Xiao Yun and Yi Su could even hear their own heartbeat. Even though the two of them heard Tang Ao's words, they didn't know what to do. Or perhaps, in their minds, their cultivation was stronger than Tang Ao's. So, even at a time like that, they still stood in front. Looking at the heavy steps of the Wolf King, Tang Ao was not nervous at all. He only said, "Scram." As a monstrous beast at the peak of the 6th level of the Origin Realm, the Wolf King's intelligence was extremely high. So, naturally, it understood Tang Ao's words. The reason why it approached them so slowly was because it wanted to make them sink into endless despair in fear and completely lose their fighting strength. But the Wolf King never would have thought that it would meet a madman. That's right. From the Wolf King's perspective, Tang Ao was a madman. From the Wolf King's perception, Tang Ao only had the cultivation of the 1st level of the Origin Realm. Such a weak little ant could be smashed to death with a single claw. But at that instant, the weak little ant dared to speak arrogantly in front of it and humiliated it. How could the Wolf King swallow that? Roar. After a furious howl, the Wolf King rose into the air and pounced towards Tang Ao. The sharp claws carried a wave of energy in the air. Just this wave of energy was not something that Xiao Yun and Yi Su could block. After Tang Ao stood in front, the Wolf King's aura was completely blocked by Tang Ao. Xiao Yun and Yi Su came back to their senses. When the two of them saw that Tang Ao was in front of them, they were very worried in their hearts. This Ironbone Wolf King wasn't something that the few of them could contend against. In front of this Ironbone Wolf King, they couldn't even escape, let alone resist it. Brother Tang Ao. Seeing the iron-boned wolf pouncing towards Tang Ao, Xiao Yun cried out in fear. His eyes were filled with despair. It wasn't that he didn't work hard in his cultivation. On the contrary, among the disciples of the Heavenly Star Academy, Xiao Yun was the most diligent in his cultivation. However, for some unknown reason, Xiao Yun's cultivation progress was very slow. At that moment, basically everyone else in the academy cultivated to the 4th level of the Origin Realm. Xiao Yun was still lingering around the 3rd level of the Origin Realm. At this moment, Xiao Yun was helpless. He could only watch helplessly as the steel-boned Wolf King pounced towards Tang Ao. However, it was completely different from what Xiao Yun imagined. When the steel-boned Wolf King pounced towards Tang Ao, Xiao Yun only saw Tang Ao casually kick it. After that, the steel-boned Wolf King was kicked away by Tang Ao like a ball. The scene in front of their eyes stunned Xiao Yun and Yi Su. One had to know that teacher Sima Yan, who was at the peak of the 7th level of the Origin Realm, had to join hands with teacher Li Jiu to fight a strong monster like the steel-boned Wolf King. Only after a bitter battle could they subdue the monster or cover everyone's retreat. However, right now, the steel-boned Wolf King was kicked away by Tang Ao. Xiao Yun slapped himself. Xiao Yun wanted to confirm whether or not he was dreaming. Yi Su pinched Xiao Yun's arm and rolled his eyes at him. Clearly, everyone was mistaken. Tang Ao was not some hedonistic young master who mistakenly entered the 4th area. He was a hidden expert. Chapter 1908. The principal of the Heavenly Star Academy, Li Tianxing, was at the 8th level of the Origin Martial Realm. He had seen Li Tianxing fight against a peak 6th level Origin Martial Realm monster. Although it wasn't as strenuous as Sima Yan and Li Jiu, it still took a lot of effort. He simply couldn't do what Tang Ao did, sending the Wolf King flying with one kick. After being sent flying by Tang Ao's kick, the iron-boned Wolf King was also stunned. The iron-boned Wolf King didn't even know how it flew back. Looking at Tang Ao in front of it, the iron-boned Wolf King roared again and charged at Tang Ao. However, this time, The Wolf King had only taken a few steps before Tang Ao's surging aura enveloped the surrounding space. Under this aura, the Wolf King was so scared that it knelt on the ground. The Wolf King's intelligence was very high. Therefore, it knew that this time, it had provoked an existence that it absolutely could not provoke. The strength of the martial artist in front of it was beyond the Wolf King's imagination. The Wolf King couldn't understand why there was such a powerful martial artist. Say, Junior, spare me. The Wolf King and the snow-winged spirit cat were both at the peak of the 6th level of the origin martial realm, but the Wolf King's intelligence was really high. At that moment, it was using a very shaky human language to beg Tang Ao for mercy. Before Tang Ao could say anything, Xiao Meng jumped down from the snow-winged spirit cat and softly said, "Spare it." At the same time, Xiao Meng also walked towards the Wolf King. She extended her hand and touched the golden fur on the Wolf King's neck. Although it was shocked by Tang Ao's powerful aura, the Wolf King's pride made it unwilling to be touched by a little girl. Immediately, the Wolf King opened its huge mouth and let out a sky-shaking roar. Xiao Meng was caught off guard and scared by the Wolf King. Seeing that Xiao Meng was fine, the Wolf King's eyes were full of doubt. In the Wolf King's opinion, its roar should have blown Xiao Meng away. However, Xiao Meng was not blown away. It was just that when it suddenly roared, it scared Xiao Meng. At this moment, Xiao Meng turned around with a straight face. Immediately, the powerful aura of the half-step life and death realm erupted. This terrifying aura directly sent the Ironbone Wolf King flying. The surrounding Ironbone wolves were directly pressed into the hard ground by this terrifying aura, unable to move. Next, Little Meng took a step forward. With a single step, she crossed over Tenjiang and arrived before the Iron-boned Wolf King. Immediately, Xiao Meng raised her small fist and punched the Iron-boned Wolf King. "You ugly thing, you actually dare to scare me. If it weren't for me, you would have been beaten to death by Big Brother Tang Ao. How dare you laugh at me? I'm going to beat the shit out of you." As Little Meng spoke, her small fists fell like raindrops. Chapter 1909. After Tang Ao had subdued the Iron-boned Wolf King, Xiao Yun and Yi Su also came over in shock. Originally, when they encountered the Iron-boned Wolf King, the two of them would definitely die. However, the two of them did not expect that this seemingly young youth, who got lost in the Scarlet Wasteland, would be so powerful. The scene of Tang Ao sending the Iron-boned Wolf King flying with a kick was still vivid in Xiao Yun and Yi Su's minds. "Big Brother Tang Ao, I didn't expect you to be so powerful." Xiao Yun walked forward and looked at Tang Ao with eyes full of worship and respect. After Xiao Yun finished speaking, Yi Su hit him with his elbow and immediately said, "Don't call me Big Brother, call me Senior." Tang Ao's cultivation was clearly stronger than the Heavenly Star Academy's dean. Although Tang Ao was young, Tang Ao's strength was unquestionable. "Oh, Senior." It had to be said that Xiao Yun was a little dumbfounded. At this moment, when Yi Su told him to call Tang Ao Senior, he did not hesitate to call him Senior Tang Ao. Seeing his appearance, Tang Ao could not help but laugh. However, although Tang Ao seemed to be the same age as Xiao Yun and Yi Su, in reality, Tang Ao had cultivated for 8,000 years in his previous life. Therefore, Tang Ao was still worthy of being called a senior. Moreover, there was no seniority in learning, only the accomplished were the teachers. In the world of martial arts, there was no distinction of age, only the strong were respected. Seeing that even after Tang Ao revealed his strength, he did not have the arrogance of an expert. Yi Su hesitated for a moment, then said to Tang Ao, "Senior, Xiao Yun's nature is simple and honest. His martial arts talent is also not bad. If Senior doesn't have a disciple, could you accept Xiao Yun as your disciple?" Yi Su's words caused Tang Ao to be surprised. This was because Tang Ao did not have any intention of accepting a disciple, but if he wanted to accept Xiao Yun as his disciple, it was not impossible. Xiao Yun was a warm and honest person. Accepting Xiao Yun as a disciple was also possible. As for Xiao Yun's cultivation, Tang Ao didn't care at all. After his soul sea and spirit sea recovered, Tang Ao had completely entered the ranks of a grade 1 alchemy master. No matter what happened to Xiao Yun, Tang Ao had a way to make his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. Thinking up to this point, Tang Ao's expression turned serious as he looked at Xiao Yun and asked, "Are you willing to take me as your master?" Xiao Yun had already witnessed Tang Ao's abilities. Now that Tang Ao was willing to accept him as a disciple, Xiao Yun was naturally overjoyed. One must know that Tang Ao's strength was even stronger than the principal of the Heavenly Star Academy. The principal of the Heavenly Star Academy only had 3 disciples, and these 3 disciples were all instructors of the Heavenly Star Academy. The previous instructor, Li Jiu, was the first disciple of the principal. Although he was happy, Xiao Yun still looked at Yi Su. Every time he couldn't make up his mind, he would ask Yi Su. When Yi Su saw Xiao Yun like this, he felt both touched and helpless. The fact that Tang Ao was willing to accept Xiao Yun as a disciple could be said to be Xiao Yun's fortune. In the entire Flying Star continent, there was definitely no martialist who was stronger than Tang Ao. "Blockhead, hurry up and acknowledge me as your master." Yi Su looked at the dumbfounded Xiao Yun. He was happy for him, but at the same time, he was disappointed that Xiao Yun didn't live up to his expectations. Xiao Yun smiled embarrassedly and hurriedly bowed to Tang Ao. Disciple Xiao Yun pays his respects to Master. After saying that, Xiao Yun immediately said, "Master, junior sister Yi Su's talent in the martial Dao is much better than mine. Master, why don't you accept her as a disciple?" No matter how stupid Xiao Yun was, he knew that it was a great fortune to have Tang Ao as his master. Chapter 1910. Even in the Black-Yellow Continent, Sea of Soul Realm cultivation base, and above could establish a sect. Right now, Tang Ao's cultivation base was at the Sea of Soul Realm. However, Tang Ao was a peerless expert at the peak of the 9th layer of astral reaching realm in his previous life. As long as he could leave the Flying Star continent, Tang Ao would be able to recover his cultivation base to the life and death realm very quickly. Therefore, Tang Ao taking Xiao Yun as a disciple was truly a great fortune for Xiao Yun. After hearing Xiao Yun's words, Tang Ao also looked at Yi Su. Tang Ao could naturally see the relationship between Xiao Yun and Yi Su. The two were clearly in love with each other. However, neither of them had made it clear. Whether it was Xiao Yun or Yi Su, both of them were upright. Therefore, taking both of them as disciples was nothing. Yi Su was naturally aware of Tang Ao's intentions. She immediately felt delighted and knelt down on one knee. Disciple Yi Su greets Master. Previously, Yi Su had also wondered whether a senior like Tang Ao would only take one disciple. Therefore, after recommending Xiao Yun to Tang Ao, Yi Su had no intention of taking him as her master. What surprised Yi Su was that Tan Gaogao was still willing to take her as a disciple after giving up Xiao Yun. Although she mainly cultivated alchemy, Tang Ao was able to cultivate martial Dao to such a high level. She could naturally learn a lot by following beside Tang Ao. Little Yi seems to be an alchemist? When Tang Ao saw that Yi Su's attacking method was alchemy fire, he naturally knew that Yi Su was an alchemist. Moreover, his alchemy level shouldn't be low. Otherwise, his control over alchemy fire couldn't have reached such a level. After Tang Ao asked, before Yi Su could reply, Xiao Yun said excitedly, "Master, junior sister Yi Su is a very powerful alchemist. She entered the ranks of 9-star alchemists half a year ago." Tang Ao had previously guessed that Yi Su's alchemy level shouldn't be weak. However, Tang Ao didn't expect that Yi Su's alchemy level had actually reached the level of 9-star alchemist. However, to Tang Ao, a 9-star alchemist could only be said to be not bad. After all, Tang Ao's alchemy skills had reached the standard of a grade 1 alchemy master. Yi Su also did not know how good Tang Ao's alchemy Dao would be if his martial Dao was so impressive. After all, there were very few martial arts experts who were proficient in alchemy. Yi Su was really afraid that Tang Ao didn't know alchemy at all. Wouldn't that make Tang Ao lose face? Therefore, Yi Su just nodded and said, "Master, I have some talent in alchemy, but my martial arts cultivation is very lacking." Tang Ao naturally saw through Yi Su's concerns. Immediately, Tang Ao smiled nonchalantly and took out a jade slip. This jade slip was a summary of Tang Ao's alchemy experience from a grade 1 spirit alchemy master to a grade 6 spirit alchemy master. Yi Su could cultivate to become a 9-star spirit alchemy master on the Flying Star continent, which showed that his talent in alchemy was very good. Therefore, Tang Ao was prepared to impart his alchemy inheritance to Yi Su. Yi Su was stunned when he saw the jade slip that Tang Ao handed over. Then, he took the jade slip from Tang Ao and opened it. After scanning the first 2 chapters with his sole remembrance, Yi Su was so excited that he almost shouted. As there were no alchemists above 9-star alchemists in the Flying Star continent, Yi Su lost his direction after cultivating to 9-star alchemy master. Chapter 1911. After receiving this jade strip, Yi Su was very excited. Yi Su knew that if she stayed in the Heavenly Star Academy, she would never be able to break through the shackles of a 9-star pill master. On the path of cultivation, one's own effort and talent were important, but as the saying goes, a great teacher produces a great disciple. The problem that she had pondered for half a year without any clues was easily solved after meeting Tang Ao. After giving Yi Su his pill refining heart, Tang Ao once again handed over a jade strip. This jade strip was the first chapter of the 100 Herb Collection. The 100 Herb Collection had a total of 9 chapters, but the first 3 chapters already included all the spiritual herbs. An outstanding pill refiner, in addition to outstanding pill refining ability, could not fall behind in the recognition of spiritual herbs. Only by being familiar with the various characteristics of spiritual herbs could one create more practical pill recipes and increase the efficiency of pill refining. After seeing Tang Ao give Yi Su 2 jade strips, Xiao Yun was also looking forward to what kind of greeting gift his master would give him, but it was obviously not his turn yet. After giving Yi Su 2 jade strips, Tang Ao also took out the black crag pill furnace that he had previously refined and immediately said to Yi Su, "This pill furnace is a pill furnace that I refined myself, and it should be enough for you to use at this stage. If you have any questions regarding pill refining, you can ask me at any time." Speaking till here, Tang Ao paused for a moment, then said, "Since you have become my disciple, you cannot slack off in your martial cultivation. Although a pill refiner has a respected status, a pill refiner without the ability to protect himself is just a fat sheep in the eyes of others." Tang Ao stopped here and did not say anything else. However, Tang Ao believed that with Yi Su's intelligence, she would definitely be able to understand what he meant. This disciple will remember. Yi Su was originally extremely intelligent, so she also understood Tang Ao's words. However, there was still one thing that Yi Su did not understand. With Tang Ao's cultivation, it would not be a problem for him to move unhindered across the Flying Star continent. Although Yi Su would not rely on Tang Ao's name to intimidate others, as long as they knew that she was Tang Ao's disciple, no one would dare to have any ideas on her. But what Yi Su didn't know was that Tang Ao's vision would never be limited to the Flying Star continent. Right now, Tang Ao's cultivation was indeed strong enough to dominate the entire Flying Star continent. However, when he went to a wider world, Tang Ao would also have to keep improving in order to survive. After explaining everything to Yi Su, Tang Ao took out a long spear from his storage ring and handed it to Xiao Yun. This spear was a top-notch 6th-grade spirit artifact. It was many times better than the spear that Xiao Yun was currently using. Not long ago, Tang Ao went to Dao Venerate Great Dream's treasury and found countless treasures. Tang Ao even had many immortal artifact spears in his chaotic 6 light mirror space. However, Xiao Yun's cultivation base was too low. Even if he was given an immortal artifact, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. In that case, Tang Ao might as well give him a top-notch 6th-grade spear. In addition to the spear, Tang Ao also took out a spear technique manual and a cultivation method jade slip for Xiao Yun to cultivate on his own. After Xiao Yun and Yi Su acknowledged each other as their masters, Tang Ao's group of 4 continued to move forward. Although both Xiao Yun and Yi Su could not wait to read the ancient books that Tang Ao had given them, it was obvious that Tang Ao wanted to rush to Evergreen Market. Therefore, the two naturally did not want to delay. Chapter 1912. That's fine. Do you two know the way to Evergreen Market from here? Tang Ao didn't care about these things. Xiao Yun and Yi Su could deal with it themselves. Although they could reach Evergreen Market in half a day on Heavenly Star Academy's flying spirit boat, Tang Ao didn't plan on waiting that long. If Tang Ao used the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud, even if he brought Yi Su and Xiao Yun, he could definitely reach Evergreen Market in less than an incense's time. However, what troubled Tang Ao was that Tang Ao really didn't know how to get to Evergreen Market. Xiao Yun and Yi Su nodded their heads. Yi Su added, "Master, Heavenly Star Academy's flying spirit boat was obtained from a ruin. It's very fast. If you take the flying spirit boat, you can reach Evergreen Market in less than half a day." Yi Su could tell that Tang Ao was in a hurry to get to Evergreen Market, so he reminded him. After all, the distance from here to Evergreen Market was extremely far. With Yi Su's current knowledge, the fastest way to get to Evergreen Market was by taking the flying spirit boat. However, what Yi Su didn't know was that the flying spirit boat that Heavenly Star Academy treated as a treasure wasn't much in Tang Ao's eyes. This was because the Heavenly Star Academy's flying spirit boat was merely a Grade 4 spiritual artifact. Tang Ao was a peak Grade 6 refiner. As long as Tang Ao was willing, he could refine a Grade 6 flying spirit boat at any time. However, even if it was a Grade 6 flying spirit boat, it was still inferior to Tang Ao's Wind Thunder Dark Cloud. Now that Tang Ao was in a hurry to get to Evergreen Market, Tang Ao naturally prepared to use the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud to bring Xiao Yun and Yi Su there. Suddenly, Tang Ao's brows moved because Tang Ao's soul remembrance scanned that there was a very intense battle ahead. However, it was a bit far from here, so Tang Ao couldn't see the situation ahead. Let's go over and see. From the ripples of the battle, Tang Ao determined that there were many martial artists fighting with monstrous beasts. The aura of the monstrous beasts was very strong and it reached at least the 7th level of the Origin Realm, or even higher. After getting closer, Yi Su and Xiao Yun could also feel the terrifying Yuan Qi fluctuations in the surroundings. Waves of violent Yuan Qi surged over, causing the two of them to tremble. At this time, Tang Ao was able to clearly see that the students of the Heavenly Star Academy were fighting with the two monstrous beasts. The two monstrous beasts were extremely horrifying monstrous beasts at the 7th level of the Origin Realm. Simeon stalled one of them while Li Jiu and the remaining students had a bitter battle with the other monstrous beast. Tang Ao noticed that although it would not be easy for Simeon to win, he would definitely not lose in the short term. In fact, if Simeon was lucky enough to grasp the demonic beast's weakness, it would not be impossible for Simeon to win. However, it was clear that Li Jiu would not be able to last until Simeon won. Under the Bone Dragon demonic beast's attacks, Li Jiu and the group of Heavenly Star Academy students were in imminent danger. The arrival of Tang Ao and the others instantly attracted everyone's attention. Seeing people arrive, Li Jiu and the group of Heavenly Star Academy students were delighted. However, when they saw that it was Tang Ao and the others, they were instantly splashed with a bucket of cold water. Tang Ao's current cultivation was still at the first level of the Origin Realm, while Xiao Yun was only at the third level of the Origin Realm. Yi Su's strength was slightly better, reaching the fourth level of the Origin Realm. Chapter 1913. Although they had the advantage in numbers, they did not have any advantage in the battle against the two-winged bone dragon. On the contrary, many students were already injured by the two-winged bone dragon's attack, and the situation was precarious. Seeing that it was Yi Su and the other two, Li Jiu did not expect Tang Ao and the other two to be able to help. Although there were 4 people in Tang Ao's group, Tang Xiaomeng, who was riding on the iron-boned Wolf King's head, was obviously ignored by Li Jiu. Also because of that, Li Jiu did not even notice that the wolf Tang Xiaomeng was riding on was the peak of the 6th level of the Origin Realm. Yi Su, help me get in touch with the Dean, Li Jiu yelled. The bone dragon at the 7th level of the Origin Realm was too much for Li Jiu. Even though there were 10 Heavenly Star Academy students on the side, Li Jiu, who was attacking from the front, still felt endless pressure. Li Jiu knew that if this continued, in at most the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he would certainly fall under the hands of the bone dragon. And if he died, the remaining students would absolutely not be able to fight against the bone dragon. It could be said that other than Samayan, who was at the 7th level of the Origin Realm, no one else could escape even if they wanted to. At this time, perhaps only the principal himself would be able to resolve the situation. However, the principal of the Heavenly Star Academy, Hua Chuangong, had already entered the 5th district of the Scarlet Wasteland half a month ago, and there was no news of him until now. Therefore, Li Jiu naturally knew that even if he sent a message to the Dean now, the Dean would not be able to sense it. However, Li Jiu still had a sliver of hope in his heart. Or rather, other than seeking help from the Dean, Li Jiu did not know what else to do. Hearing Li Jiu's words, Yi Su hurriedly looked at Tang Ao. When the students who were fighting the two-winged bone dragon saw that Yi Su didn't immediately seek help from the Dean and instead looked at Tang Ao, they were so furious that they were about to spit fire. Now that the situation was so dangerous, Yi Su was still hesitating. One had to know that the earlier the Dean had arrived, the greater their chances of survival. As for whether or not the Dean could really take it, no one dared to think about this question at this moment. Because if the headmaster couldn't make it in time, what awaited them would be death. Therefore, they could only hope that the Dean would rush over as soon as he received the news. Therefore, Yi Su, who did not send a distress signal to the Dean in time, naturally became the sinner in their eyes. No need. After seeing Yi Su look at him, Tang Ao said casually. Tang Ao didn't know where the principal of the Heavenly Star Academy was, but Tang Ao was sure that by the time the principal arrived, the students of the Heavenly Star Academy would already be dead. Previously, it was only Li Jiu's side that could not hold on, but at this moment, Sima Yan's side was also experiencing a sudden phenomenon. The two-winged bone dragon summoned a sea of bones, directly enveloping Sima Yan within it. The sharp bone spikes also pierced through Sima Yan. After suffering such a heavy injury, Sima Yan's aura also rapidly weakened. The reason why Sima Yan fell for it was because he was too worried about Li Jiu. In the end, he was distracted and fell for it. After sensing the state of his body, Sima Yan knew that he would have to die here today. At the same time, these students would also be finished. Looking at the gigantic claws of the two-winged bone dragon that blotted out the sun, Sima Yan knew that everything was over. No, Teacher Sima. No. Quick dodge. Chapter 1914. However, after a long time, everyone put down the two-winged bone dragon's powerful claw. For some reason, it had stopped in midair. When they looked carefully, they saw a white-robed youth under the two-winged bone dragon's claw. Everyone felt that the white-robed young man looked familiar, and very quickly they remembered, wasn't that Tang Tian? So powerful! Everyone was secretly amazed when they saw Tang Ao block the two-winged bone dragon's claw with one hand. As for Sima Yan, who knew the might of the two-winged bone dragon's claw, he was so shocked by Tang Ao's move that his eyeballs nearly popped out. Tang Ao had actually used his human body to block the two-winged bone dragon's claw with his bare hands. What kind of god was Tang Ao? At such a close distance, Sima Yan was certain that he hadn't seen wrongly. Tang Ao had actually used his body to block the two-winged bone dragon's claw without using any life soul or spirit artifact. After blocking the Ironbone Wolf King's claw, Tang Ao said coldly, "Scram." Hearing Tang Ao's words, the Ironbone Wolf King that Little Meng was riding trembled. Not long ago, it had almost been killed by Tang Ao because of Tang Ao's words. At this moment, the two-winged bone dragon had clearly committed the same mistake as the Ironbone Wolf King. Although it didn't know how a weak ant like Tang Ao had blocked its claw, the two-winged bone dragon clearly didn't have any thoughts of letting Tang Ao off. It opened its huge mouth, and a purple dragon breath swept towards Tang Ao. Seeing the dragon breath, Sima Yan exclaimed, "Retreat!" The two-winged bone dragon's dragon breath was very powerful and contained a lethal poison. Sima Yan had almost been hit a few times before, so he had been constantly on guard against the two-winged bone dragon's dragon breath when fighting it. However, what shocked Sima Yan was that Tang Ao didn't even have the thought of moving when facing the two-winged bone dragon's terrifying dragon breath. As long as one was hit by this dragon breath, they would be injured at best and lose their lives at worst. Sima Yan didn't know what Tang Ao was doing. One had to know that as long as he was hit by the dragon breath, he would be finished. Under everyone's gazes, the two-winged bone dragon's dragon breath finally swept towards Tang Ao. However, the instant the dragon breath swept towards Tang Ao disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the air. At the same time, an earth-shattering kick exploded from Tang Ao's leg. A ball of golden light swept through the horizon. Under Tang Ao's fierce kick, the crowd only saw the peak of the 7th level of the Origin Realm, the two-winged bone dragon, being kicked flying. While Tang Ao was dealing with the two-winged bone dragon, the other two-winged bone dragon broke away from Li Jiu and the others and attacked Tang Ao. This time, the green lotus sword soul behind Tang Ao flashed with green light and a sword radiating cold light appeared in Tang Ao's hand. Tang Ao didn't even turn his head. He only took advantage of the situation and slashed. It was clearly a normal slash, but with that slash, a terrifying half-moon sword aura exploded from the azure lotus sword. The aura was majestic, as if it was going to tear the world apart. *pu** after the slash, everyone saw Tang Ao's terrifying sword aura pass through the two-winged bone dragon's body. Immediately after, the arrogant two-winged bone dragon fell from the air. *rumble rumble rumble *. When the huge body smashed onto the ground unceasingly trembled. Until now, everyone still hadn't come back to their senses. What happened just now? Chapter 1915. Only at that time did Sima and Li Jiu come back to their senses. They were too shocked. The two of them personally saw the Din Hua Chuangong fight against a monstrous beast at the 7th level of the Origin Realm. Although the Din won in the end, it was a small victory after a bitter battle. But now, the two peak 7th level Origin Realm two-winged bone dragons were instantly killed by Tang Ao in front of him. At that moment, Sima and Li Jiu's hearts were in turmoil. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't dare to believe that there was such a strong cultivator in the Flying Star continent. Even when they saw it with their own eyes, they still felt that it was unreal. The Heavenly Star Academy students who survived the calamity looked at Tang Ao with lifeless faces. Before, when Tang Ao asked for directions, these people saw Tang Ao, but they didn't even take Tang Ao seriously. However, after witnessing Tang Ao's strength, they finally understood that this seemingly ordinary white-clothed youth was actually an existence that was even stronger than their dean. "Senior, thank you for saving us." Suppressing the shock in their hearts, Si Mayan and Li Jiu cupped their hands towards Tang Ao and said. The other students also came to a realization. They bowed and cupped their hands together, saying thank you senior for saving us. Tang Ao waved his hand without care, then pointed at Xiao Yun and Yi Su and said, "These two have already become my disciples. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the following matters." Tang Ao didn't know if there were any conditions for the Heavenly Star Academy students to take a master, nor did he know if Yi Su and Xiao Yun could leave the Heavenly Star Academy just like that. But Tang Ao knew that with Si Mayan's identity, it was naturally not a problem for him to take care of these matters. After hearing Tang Ao's words, Si Mayan was extremely happy in his heart. Yi Su and Xiao Yun could be taken as disciples by a strong cultivator like Tang Ao. It could be said that it was their fortune. As for the rest of the Heavenly Star Academy's disciples, they were looking at Xiao Yun and Xiao Luo with endless envy. Previously, when Tang Ao came to ask for directions, everyone's attitude was very unfriendly. In the end, only Xiao Yun and Yi Su were willing to team up with Tang Ao. But no one had ever imagined that this young man who did not reveal himself would actually be a martial artist who was even more valiant than their dean. The matters of the world were really unpredictable. Under everyone's envious gazes, Tang Ao rolled up his sleeves and a thundercloud condensed under Tang Ao's feet. Xiao Yun and Yi Su were also brought onto the thundercloud by Tang Ao. Subsequently, thundercloud trembled, and Tang Ao and the others' figures instantly disappeared. Even soul remembrance couldn't detect them. Clearly, in that instant, Tang Ao and the others had left the range of everyone's soul remembrance detection. This man must be the strongest expert on the Flying Star continent. While everyone was still amazed by Tang Ao's methods, a powerful voice came from behind them. The person who came was an old man with white hair and a fan cloud crown. After seeing this old man, everyone bowed and greeted, "Sir Dean." Hua Chuangong casually waved his hand. He was still shocked by Tang Ao's methods. However, as soon as something happened, Hua Chuangong received Si Mayan's distress signal. Therefore, Hua Chuangong immediately put down what he was doing and hurried over. However, Hua Chuangong's speed was clearly a bit slow. Thinking about the scene just now, Hua Chuangong still had some lingering fear. Chapter 1916. Dean, what level of cultivation do you think he has? After Samayan consumed 2 healing pellets, his injuries stabilized. I'm afraid he has already surpassed the origin realm. Although Hua Chuangong's expression was calm, from his slightly trembling voice, Samayan could tell that even the old dean could not remain calm when facing a peak expert like Tang Ao. At that moment, Hua Chuangong was not calm. He already knew that the peak of the 9th level of the origin realm was not the end of the path of martial arts. However, Hua Chuangong did not know what was above the peak of the 9th level of the origin realm because he did not have any proof. Hua Chuangong did not even dare to confirm if there was an even higher realm above the 9th level of the origin realm. However, after seeing Tang Ao today, Hua Chuangong confirmed that there was an even more profound realm above the origin realm. At the same time, Hua Chuangong also understood that although his current realm was not bad, he was still far away from the peak of the Flying Star continent. That's right, why are Xiao Yun and Yi Su together with that senior? Because Tang Ao's cultivation was extremely high, Hua Chuangong also called Tang Ao senior. After hearing the dean's question, Sima simply told Hua Chuangong about what happened when Tang Ao came to ask for directions. However, Sima clearly did not know much because they were separated later on. After hearing that, Hua Chuangong did not say much. The students of the Heavenly Star Academy were too arrogant, and he had already said that many times. This time they suffered so naturally, he did not need to emphasize it anymore. However, it was a pity that he did not have the chance to invite Tang Ao to the Heavenly Star Academy to teach. One had to know that according to the Heavenly Star Academy's investigation, the Flying Star Continent was only a drop in the ocean of the world. The original purpose of the Heavenly Star Academy's existence was to rush out of the Flying Star Continent and explore even more profound world. However, since the establishment of the Heavenly Star Academy, it was unknown how many experts it had nurtured. However, the strength of those experts was limited. There was not a single person above the origin realm. That was why Hua Chuangong wanted to invite Tang Ao to teach at the Heavenly Star Academy. Sima Yan naturally saw the disappointment in Hua Chuangong's eyes and immediately asked, "Senior brother, why are you so regretful?" Sima Yan and Hua Chuangong were martial brothers, and usually, they would address each other as senior brother and junior brother. It's a pity that we completely lost track of Senior Tang Tian after he left. Otherwise, I would have invited Senior Tang Tian to our Skystar Academy to teach the Tao. These people obviously didn't know about Tang Ao's true identity. Moreover, Tang Ao didn't have any intention of going to the Heavenly Star Academy to preach the Tao. Tang Ao wanted to quickly refine the Three Treasures Blood Lotus Pill, and then leave this place with Chu Xuehan and the others. And this trip to the Evergreen Market was to obtain the map of the Earth-Fire Stone Ruins, and then obtain the Earth-Fire Essence from the Earth-Fire Stone Ruins to upgrade the Netherworld Flame. Now, Tang Ao already had the second material to upgrade the Netherworld Flame, the Holy Yang Stone. However, the process of upgrading the Netherworld Flame was a little special. He had to use these advanced treasures in sequence. Therefore, even though Tang Ao had the Holy Yang Stone, Tang Ao could not use it to upgrade the Nether Flame. Chapter 1917. But now, in just an incense's time, Tang Ao brought them to the Evergreen Market. In reality, Tang Ao didn't push the Wind Thunder Dark Cloud to its limit because Yi Su and Xiao Yun simply couldn't handle the pressure of flying at that speed. Otherwise, Tang Ao would only need a few breaths to bring everyone here. After arriving, Tang Ao immediately saw a wanted poster from the Flying Star Alliance at the entrance of the market. The wanted person was Tang Ao. If Chu Xuehan wasn't still in the Liu family manor, Tang Ao really wanted to reveal his true appearance and teach the Liu family manor's martial artists a lesson. However, Tang Ao still had things to do in the Evergreen Market, so Tang Ao could only endure. If it was before, Xiao Yun and Yi Su would still be worried for Tang Ao when they saw the wanted poster from the Flying Star Alliance. Xiao Yun and Yi Su would still be worried for Tang Ao. However, at this moment, Xiao Yun and Yi Su were wondering why the Flying Star Alliance would be so stupid to dare come here. After arriving at the Evergreen Market, Tang Ao brought them to a place. This was because in this place, Tang Ao sensed a trace of the Raging Flame Lion's aura. Tang Ao took a glance. This place was called the East Arrival Inn. Ling Weiwei and the others probably lived here before, so Tang Ao sensed the Raging Flame Lion's aura here. When the waiter saw Tang Ao and the others, he enthusiastically greeted them. "Sir, our inn's beast meat has a special taste. Would you like to try it?" Hearing this, Tang Ao's first reaction was that the Raging Flame Lion had been slaughtered by this inn. Soon after, Tang Ao realized that this inn probably didn't have that kind of ability. When entering this inn, Tang Ao used his soul remembrance to scan the place. In this inn, the strongest martial artist was only at the second level of the origin martial realm. I had a few friends who lived here before. Along with them were 2 raging flame lions. Where are my friends now? As soon as Tang Ao said this, the shop assistant's expression changed. He took a look at the notice on the side and then at Tang Ao. He found that Tang Ao looked completely different from the person on the notice. Therefore, he was not sure if Tang Ao was the person the Flying Star Alliance was looking for. Even so, he still sent a message to the Flying Star Alliance decisively. After sending the message, the shop assistant said with a fake smile, "It's easy for you to find someone. When did your friend come? Let me check for you." This shop assistant's little trick naturally couldn't escape Tang Ao's eyes. However, Tang Ao knew that under the Mirage silk robe, even if Lu Chuanjia stood here, he would definitely not be able to recognize him as Tang Ao. In just a moment, the inn was surrounded by a group of heavily armored martial artists. Their leader was an old man with grizzled hair, and a young man with a pierced scapula was chained to his side. After seeing this young man, Tang Ao's anger immediately exploded. Tang Ao recognized this young man with a pierced scapula. It was the small iron pillar from 100 Flower Villa. However, the current small iron pillar didn't have his original high-spirited appearance. His entire body was in a sorry state, and his body was full of wounds. Lifting his head and seeing that the person in front of him wasn't Tang Ao, the small iron pillar let out a sigh of relief and hung his head down. The old man next to the small iron pillar was someone Tang Ao had seen before. When Lu Chuanjia came to Everlasting Azure Market, there were 5 old men following behind him. This person was one of them. When Tang Ao saw this old man, Lu Renwu also saw Tang Ao. However, after scanning Tang Ao with his soul remembrance, Lu Renwu found that the person in front of him wasn't Tang Ao. However, since he was looking for the raging flame lion, he was definitely related to Tang Ao. Immediately, Lu Renwu's face went cold as he said, "Break his 4 limbs, pierce his scapula, and bring him back for interrogation." Hearing Lu Renwu's words, Tang Ao suddenly laughed out loud. The commotion here naturally attracted many people to watch. However, when they saw Flying Star Alliance's Lu Renwu doing something, everyone subconsciously moved away. Not long ago, Flying Star Alliance's Lu Chuanjia broke through to the 9th level of Origin Martial Realm. After Lu Chuanjia broke through, he firmly controlled Everlasting Azure Market. Chapter 1918. Lu Renwu covered his swollen left cheek with his hand, and his expression was filled with horror. After reaching the 6th level of the Origin Martial Realm, Lu Renwu hadn't felt what it felt like to be hit for a long time. Even though the Flying Star continent was in a frenzy of cultivation and geniuses were emerging in large numbers, with the cultivation of the 6th level of the Origin Realm, although they couldn't do as they wished in the bloody wasteland without fear, they would still rarely meet a worthy opponent. As far as Lu Renwu knew, there were only 2 people stronger than him in the entire Flying Star continent. One was the patriarch of the Lu clan, Lu Chuanjia, and the other was the great elder of the Alchemy Guild, Huayuan. Apart from them, Lu Renwu couldn't think of anyone stronger than him. However, the white-clothed youth in front of him was clearly not Lu Chuanjia, nor was it Huayuan. But just now, he didn't even see how the white-clothed youth moved, and his teeth flew out. "Listen, let me ask you, where is Ling Weiwei?" Tang Ao felt very guilty. It was clear that Ling Weiwei and the others were implicated by him. When he ran away, Lu Chuanjia couldn't find him, so he could only capture Ling Weiwei and the others. But in reality, he didn't know Ling Weiwei and the others for long, and they didn't know where he went. Seeing little Tai Zhu's miserable appearance, Tang Ao's anger grew even more intense. In reality, Tang Ao was wrong this time. After Tang Ao ran away, Lu Chuanjia didn't stay in the Evergreen Market for too long. He only left Lu Renwu, the weakest of the 5 Lu clan elders, to monitor every movement in the Evergreen Market. In the end, Lu Renwu relied on his cultivation of the 6th level of the origin martial realm to do whatever he wanted in the evergreen market. After Lu Chuanjia left, Lu Renwu wanted to find Tang Ao's whereabouts and take credit for it. With the Flying Star Alliance's power in the evergreen market, Lu Renwu easily found out that Tang Ao came with the people from the 100 Flowers Villa. So, without any hesitation, Lu Renwu directly captured them in the evergreen market. At first, Shen Qianshi and Zhang Jujin could still suppress Lu Renwu and not let him do whatever he wanted in the evergreen market. Thus, Lu Renwu didn't dare to do anything to Ling Weiwei and the others. But a few days ago, news spread that Lu Chuanjia had other opportunities in the 5th area of the Bloody Wasteland and broke through to the 8th level of the Origin Realm in one go. Since then, Lu Renwu started to be unrestrained. After the initial shock, Lu Renwu immediately forgot how Tang Ao hit him. At this moment, Lu Renwu only wanted to break Tang Ao's bones to vent his anger. "Humph! How dare you sneak attack me? Today, I'll let you know how the word death is written." Not only did Lu Renwu not answer Tang Ao's question, but his body's essence qi erupted and he struck a palm strike at Tang Ao. As for him being slapped by Tang Ao just now, he attributed it to Tang Ao's sneak attack, and not because Tang Ao was much stronger than him, so he couldn't react at all. The commotion in this place was not small. Many surrounding cultivators were attracted over. When everyone came over, they saw Lu Renwu furiously striking a white-clothed youth with a palm strike. Everyone secretly sighed in their hearts. After Lu Chuanjia reached the 8th level of the Origin Realm, the Lu family's cultivators became more and more lawless. This was not the first time Lu Renwu killed people in the Evergreen Market. However, facing Lu Renwu, who was the manager of the Evergreen Market, Shen Qianshi and Zhang Jujin could only close one eye. As for the others, how could they dare to provoke Lu Renwu? Chapter 1919. At the same time, Xiao Taizhu was a bit confused. He knew all of Ling Weiwei's friends. However, in Xiao Taizhu's impression, Ling Weiwei didn't seem to know this young man in white. The surrounding people also revealed sympathetic looks. In this period of time, as long as one came to the Evergreen Market and offended the Lu family, they would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Under the wanton behavior of the Lu family warriors, a lot of people were even unwilling to come to the Evergreen Market. If it weren't for the 9-Colored Deer Merchant Guild's 100-year celebration tomorrow, the number of warriors in the Evergreen Market would have been reduced by at least 90%. A lot of people also noticed that after Lu Chuanjia broke through to the 8th level of the Origin Martial Realm, he seemed to have the idea of reuniting the Flying Star continent. The reason why the Lu family warriors were so wanton was only to force some forces to make a move on the Lu family so that the Lu family could find an excuse to get rid of them as well. Tang Ao was too lazy to care about the grudges between the Lu family and the forces of the Flying Star continent. Ever since Tang Ao came to the Flying Star continent, the Lu family had always been at odds with Tang Ao. Before, Tang Ao's cultivation was too low, so he couldn't do anything against the Lu family. Now that Tang Ao's cultivation had recovered to the 1st level of the Sea of Souls realm, it was time for the Lu family to suffer. Tang Ao had already decided that once he got the map of the Earth-Fire Stone ruins, he would go and get Chu Shuahan out. As for the Lu family, he would also get rid of them. Right at this moment, Lu Renwu's sharp palm attack was also thrown toward Tang Ao. This palm attack was powerful and overbearing, as if it was going to shatter Tang Ao's bones. In reality, Lu Renwu was planning to do the same. However, what he didn't know was that his seemingly invulnerable palm attack was not only full of loopholes in front of Tang Ao, but it was also very weak. Not waiting for Lu Renwu's palm to hit him, Tang Ao slapped him again. Pa! A crisp sound was heard, and Lu Renwu was sent flying by Tang Ao. This scene astonished the spectators. They had thought of countless ways Tang Ao would end up in a miserable state under Lu Renwu's slap. However, they had never imagined that Tang Ao would be fine under Lu Renwu's slap. Instead, it was Lu Renwu who was sent flying back. This time, although everyone was focused on Tang Ao, they still couldn't see how Tang Ao made his move. "Little bastard, I'm going to kill you." After being slapped twice by Tang Ao, Lu Renwu's anger soared to the sky. He directly took out a long sword and stabbed at Tang Ao. However, when the long sword stabbed halfway, the sword's momentum suddenly changed. It did not continue stabbing towards Tang Ao, and it stabbed towards Yi Su, who was at the side. Lu Renwu was not an idiot. After being slapped twice by Tang Ao, if he still didn't know that Tang Ao's cultivation was clearly stronger than his, he wouldn't need to cultivate. So, Lu Renwu decided to kidnap a person from Tang Ao's side to probe Tang Ao's direct descendant. For Tang Ao to be able to do this, it meant that Tang Ao was at least a 7th level Origin Realm martial artist. Since he was at the 7th level of the Origin Realm, it was impossible for him to be a nameless person. "You're looking to die." What Tang Ao hated the most in his life was being threatened by others. Lu Renwu's intentions were self-evident. Originally, Tang Ao wanted to ask Lu Renwu a few questions. Lu Renwu's position in the Lu family was not low, so he should know where Chu Xuehan was. However, since Lu Renwu was in a rush, he could not blame Tang Ao. Chapter 1920. No! Under Lu Renwu's horrified gaze, the azure lotus sword Qi pierced through his heart, bringing up a rain of blood behind him. Then, as if he had lost all his strength, Lu Renwu fell to the ground. Tang Ao's action shocked the surrounding warriors. Although it was rare to kill someone in the Evergreen Market, this was not the first time. The reason why everyone was shocked was because the one who died was Lu Renwu, one of the 5 elders of the Lu clan. Under the current situation, even if one wanted to touch a normal disciple of the Lu clan, they would have to think twice. But now, this mysterious young man in white had killed Lu Renwu without any hesitation. "He is still too young." A warrior looked at Lu Renwu on the ground, then looked at Tang Ao and shook his head. What a joke. This person killed Lu Renwu with one attack. How could he be a normal person? He is obviously not afraid of the Lu clan's power. Be that as it may, killing Lu Renwu in Evergreen Market definitely won't end this matter peacefully. After Tang Ao killed Lu Renwu, the surrounding warriors were shocked and began to discuss. One had to know that Lu Renwu was a martial artist at the 6th level of the Origin Realm. In the current Flying Star continent, he was already a rare expert. But even so, Lu Renwu could not even take one attack from Tang Ao before he was killed. So, everyone hiddenly guessed Tang Ao's identity. After killing Lu Renwu, Tang Ao did not feel like he had done anything wrong. Tang Ao took a step forward, scaring the rest of the Lu family's experts into retreating in panic. However, Tang Ao didn't pay any attention to them. Instead, he bent down and took out a pill for the small iron pillar. Then, he removed the penetrating bone hook from the small iron pillar. Originally, Little Iron Pillar's injuries were extremely heavy, but after taking the pill given by Tang Ao, Little Iron Pillar's aura quickly stabilized. The moment he saw the Azure Lotus Sword Qi, Xiao Taizhu recognized Tang Ao. However, Tang Ao's aura was completely different from before. His appearance was also different, so Xiao Taizhu wasn't sure if the person in front of him was Tang Ao or not. Junior brother Taizhu, where is junior sister Ling Weiwei? After Tang Ao said this, little Taizhu knew that the person in front of him must be Tang Ao. He just didn't know what method Tang Ao used to change his aura and appearance. Tang! Little Taizhu shouted and quickly shut his mouth. Since Tang Ao did not show his true face, he must have his reasons. Little Iron Pillar also said, senior sister Ling Weiwei and Uncle Wu Mu are all imprisoned in the dungeon of the Liu family's temporary encampment. The Liu family's temporary encampment is not far from the Evergreen Market. Yes, take me there. Through the conversation with Xiao Taizhu, Tang Ao also learned that the warriors of the Liu family had built a temporary encampment not far from the Evergreen Market. Lu Renwu was the person in charge of this temporary encampment, while Lu Chuanjia and the others were not in the encampment. As for whether Lu Chuanjia was in the encampment or not, Tang Ao did not care. With Tang Ao's current cultivation, Lu Chuanjia was not a match for Tang Ao. In this special period, any movement in the Evergreen Market would attract attention. The news of a mysterious white-clothed youth killing Lu Renwu in one move in the Evergreen Market quickly spread to the leaders of the major forces. On the highest floor of the 100 Treasure Tower, the atmosphere was extremely serious. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.